Jadi guru itu harus ekstra sabar. Tidak jarang murid mengalami kesulitan. Jadi guru itu harus ekstra sabar. Tidak jarang murid mengalami kesulitan, namun tidak berani bertanya.
Kadang capek dan bosan. Setiap sebelum ngajar harus buat dan update lesson plan. Ditambah lagi kemampuan dan kebutuhan siswa itu berbeda-beda. Harus ditanya satu persatu di mana permasalahannya. Tapi setelah saya mencoba pakai atlas, motivasi belajar murid saya meningkat tajam. Karena selain memiliki buku interaktif dan LMS yang user-friendly, metode pembelajarannya juga menarik dan mudah dimengerti. Lalu saya merekomendasikan ke teman guru bahasa Inggris yang lain.
Atlas memang merupakan solusi yang selama ini saya cari. Kini, murid saya jadi jago berbahasa Inggris karena terus belajar dan praktek dengan video pembelajaran bahasa Inggris di rumah.
Syukur sekarang ada atlas. Banyak pilihan metode ajar dan media pembelajaran up to date. Tanpa kursus, guru tenang, murid senang.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Perkenalkan, nama saya Nur Afrima dari SMP Model Ariyat Insan Cendekia Bekasi. Di sini saya mengajar bahasa Inggris. Kesan pertama menggunakan LMS Atlas. Sangat penasaran dengan isi dari materi-materi yang diberikan oleh tim Atlas dan juga tentang worksheet-nya terlebih itu. Karena ketika menggunakan LMS Atlas ini tidak hanya materi yang mudah dipahami oleh para siswa, tetapi juga memudahkan kita sebagai teachers terkait tentang result-result di skill listening seperti itu. Kesan positif dari anak-anak pun juga saya dapatkan ketika mereka menggunakan LMS Atlas maupun buku dari tim Atlas sendiri. Anak-anak menyampaikan bahwasanya bukunya itu sangat menarik karena banyak gambar, banyak video-video yang nanti bisa mereka putar di LMS-nya. Jadi ketika anak-anak belum paham materi-materinya di sekolah, ketika kita berdiskusi bersama dari penyampaian materi dari saya sebagai guru bahasa Inggrisnya, mereka bisa mempelajari kembali dari LMS di rumah masing-masing. Seperti itu. Overall dari saya untuk Atlas, LMS-nya memang good job.
Halo, nama saya Lia, saya guru kelas 5. Saya juga mengajar berbagai macam disiplin di Sekolah Cikal Jakarta. Dari yang sudah saya lihat, buku-buku Atlas itu mudah sekali dipelajari buat anak-anak usia sekolah dasar karena satu, gambarnya, ilustrasinya sangat membantu anak untuk memahami materi pelajaran yang disampaikan, lalu kemudian pelajarannya disampaikan secara berstruktur, jadi mudah buat guru ataupun buat anak-anak. Kemudian untuk LMS-nya ini juga memudahkan sekali ya. Tadi dari kita bisa lihat semuanya sudah lengkap. Buat guru itu tinggal langsung ajar aja untuk produknya Atlas. Karena sudah ada asesmennya juga sudah lengkap, evaluasinya dari awal, strukturnya, kuisnya bahkan sudah dipersiapkan. Sehingga anak-anak juga lebih interaktif dan ini bisa disampaikan hybrid, online dan offline. Yang juga menariknya dari buku Atlas adalah sekarang dia sudah disesuaikan dengan kurikulum Merdeka yang pada tahun ajaran ini akan segera dimulai. Juga untuk bagi mereka yang menggunakan Cambridge dan ID kurikulum semuanya sudah disesuaikan, jadi sangat direkomendasikan. Apalagi buat saya yang pakai berbagai macam sumber.
Here we are at the Galactic Cup, where we have the boys against the girls. The scoreline is currently 2-2, and with only 1 minute left of extra time, we can expect a very intense match. Now we have Lulu on the ball, and she's running up front.
Out of my way! I'm gonna score this one!
Oh, no one can get past my defense. Oh no!
This is my chance!
Lulu takes the score. Louis couldn't catch the ball since he didn't anticipate the gravity well. The score is now 3-2 for the girls.
We're behind 2-3. This is not good.
What's the play now, Max?
Take the ball and run to the front as fast as you can.
What are they planning? Don't worry, I'll stop them.
And now we have the boys on the ball. It is going to be very interesting to see how they will respond to the goal by Lulu. Otto is on the run, is running very fast on the touchline. Max is running to the penalty box to give Otto an option. Otto sees him and makes the cross.
Oh no, I can't see clearly.
Goal! Max scores the equalizer! Zoe couldn't see the ball because she lost her glasses, and Max took the shot. It is the end of the extra time, and we continue to the penalty shootout.
Halo teman-teman, perkenalkan saya Sarah Suaib. Saya mengajar bahasa Inggris di SMP Islam Al-Azhar 44 di Bekasi. Untuk buku Atlas, seneng banget saya. Pertama pasti amazed sama buku yang newbie, tapi udah punya konten yang amazing. Pertama, keunggulan dari Atlas itu adalah penokohan, jadi characters, dan itu akan memudahkan anak-anak mengingat pelajaran-pelajarannya. Yang kedua, Atlas itu bikin layoutnya juga menarik dari segi color sama penempatan. Dan yang ketiga, dia punya urutan konten buku dalam pembelajaran itu yang juga menurut saya challenging, tapi juga bisa diikuti oleh semua kalangan. LMS-nya juga begitu. LMS-nya menyediakan banyak platform dan media untuk memudahkan dan membantu anak-anak belajar, sehingga kalaupun mereka punya kesulitan dalam satu bahasan, mereka bisa mengulangnya kembali di media-media yang disediakan di LMS-nya. Good job! Buku Atlas ini sudah dilengkapi sama berbagai keunggulan, baik dari segi penulisan, maupun konten. Apalagi di dalamnya sudah memasukkan juga kurikulum insert dari isi kurikulum Merdeka. Selain itu, buku atlas juga dilengkapi dengan capaian-capaian keterampilan dalam 21st Century Learning Design. Dan itu keren banget. Jadi, buat teman-teman di sekolah manapun yang ingin menggunakan buku atlas, cepat lihat dan pelajari. Bagus sekali.
Hey everyone, Gita here. I'm going to tell you what happened during the last trip to my hometown in Bali. So, my family decided to take an extended leave for Nyepi Day. We spent 5 days in total. We usually go to Ubud the night before Nyepi and leave the following day. But this time, it was different. Since my parents already asked the school to allow me a 3-day leave, I didn't have to go to school. Yay! Anyway, we left for Bali early in the morning and we arrived by lunchtime. We didn't go straight to Ubud. Instead, we had lunch at a restaurant near Jimbaran Beach. We had yummy grilled seafood. When I met my family, my grandma said that I looked like my mother when she was young. She also said that my mother loved dancing. Then she showed me an old picture of mom dancing. My aunt, who lives with my grandma, brought out my mother's old traditional Balinese dance outfit. I put it on and everyone was amazed at how similar we looked. I couldn't help but blush. That evening, there was a Ngerupuk parade. It's a traditional parade where people would march on the streets of Bali the night before Nyepi. There are big sculptures called ogo-ogo. These sculptures symbolize evil and negative energy in the world. And during the parade, we would burn them to cleanse the streets from bad spirits. Something happened during the parade. I will never forget this. I saw someone who looked like the actor Chris Hemsworth, and I really thought it was him. He approached me and asked what we were burning, and I explained the tradition of burning ogo-ogo. I hesitantly asked if he truly was Chris Hemsworth, but he said no, although he hears it a lot. Could you imagine if I really met Chris? Now that would have been really cool.
Who are you talking to, Gita? What are you talking about?
Nothing.
Hai, nama saya Desi Purnama Kurniawati. Biasa murid-murid saya dan teman-teman memanggil saya Miss Desi. Saat ini saya mengajar bahasa Inggris di SMA Negeri 70 Jakarta. Menurut saya, yang membuat produk-produk dari Atlas merupakan unggulan, lebih unggul daripada yang lain adalah dari bukunya. Bukunya lebih menarik, kontennya, kemudian alurnya juga lebih menarik sehingga memudahkan anak-anak dan juga memudahkan guru untuk memberikan materi ini kepada anak-anak sehingga mencapai capaian pembelajaran yang diinginkan. Terus kemudian LMS-nya juga sangat menarik gitu ya. Terus konten-kontennya lebih bagus dibandingkan dengan yang lain. Artinya ini mulai dari seperti judulnya juga eskalasi, dari mulai yang mudah, kemudian sedang dan sampai selanjutnya tingkat kesulitan yang complicated begitu ya, yang challenging. Jadi menurut saya sangat menarik dan kita bisa memilah, sebagai guru kita bisa memilih dan memilah mana yang cocok dan sesuai dengan yang dibutuhkan oleh murid-murid kita. Dan anak-anak pun juga bisa memilih mana materi-materi mana yang cocok dan dibutuhkan mereka untuk bisa mencapai cita-cita mereka, dan apa aja yang dibutuhkan nanti di jenjang yang selanjutnya untuk di perguruan tinggi misalnya. Jadi Bapak Ibu guru bahasa Inggris Indonesia, ayo kita beralih ke buku yang menarik sehingga anak-anak semua termotivasi untuk belajar bahasa Inggris. Mereka juga pasti akan tahu gitu ya, sesuai dengan tingkat kesulitan atau hal-hal menarik mana yang mereka inginkan gitu. Jadi saya merekomendasikan buku dan LMS produk dari Atlas.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome and good morning to the teachers who have joined today. Terima kasih atas kehadiran Bapak dan Ibu dalam acara workshop kolaborasi Atlas bersama dengan Kido. Bersama saya Siti yang akan memandu acara sampai akhir. Dengan workshop ini harapannya Bapak Ibu bisa mengenal lebih jauh tentang Atlas dan bisa menggunakan buku Atlas nantinya di sekolah Bapak dan Ibu melalui tim Kido. Sebelumnya boleh open cam dulu Bapak Ibu supaya terlihat nih wajah Bapak Ibu sekalian di pagi yang cerah ini. Sambil tulis di kolom chat yuk, berasal dari sekolah mana saja sih sekolah Bapak dan Ibu ini mengajar. Boleh tulis di kolom chat, nanti saya baca satu persatu. YPK Gloria, Bina Bakti, dari Bekasi, Bintaro, oke. Oke, halo Tangerang. Halo Bandung. Oke, banyak ya, berasal dari sekolah yang beragam sekali. Baik, sebagai fasilitator utama di kelas, guru sangat berperan untuk membuat menu harian belajar siswa selalu segar, menarik, dan tidak membosankan. Pasalnya, sebagian besar siswa mengeluhkan bahwa speaking adalah kemampuan yang paling sulit untuk dikuasai dalam pelajaran bahasa Inggris. Maka dari itu, guru perlu mencari model pembelajaran yang menarik agar kemampuan berbicara siswa terasah dengan baik, terutama di kelas yang memiliki banyak siswa di dalamnya. Itu juga yang menjadi alasan terwujudnya workshop kolaborasi Atlas bersama dengan Kido hari ini. Tema workshop yang akan kami angkat mengenai Planning Lively Speaking Activities for Large Classroom, yang harapannya nanti bisa membantu Bapak dan Ibu dalam proses pembelajaran speaking di kelas. Nah, kita mengundang dua pemateri yang luar biasa hari ini. Yang pertama, pria muda berprestasi yang saat ini menjadi CEO of Atlas, Bapak Tommy Yonatan Kumala. Halo Pak Tommy, selamat pagi.
Halo Siti, selamat pagi.
Selamat pagi Pak, bagaimana kabarnya hari ini?
Kabarnya baik sekali, terima kasih. Terima kasih juga Bapak Ibu yang sudah hadir pada hari ini.
Baik Pak Tommy. And then the second speaker is a native English teacher, Mr. Francesco Christian. Hello sir, how are you today?
Hi, good morning. I'm fine, thank you. How are you, Siti?
Oh, I'm great, thanks for asking.
Great.
Okay. Oke, baik Bapak dan Ibu, langsung saja kita masuk ke materi yang pertama, yaitu Constructivist Methods in Teaching a Speaking Classroom yang akan dibawakan langsung oleh Pak Tommy. Kepada Pak Tommy, waktu dan tempat kami persilahkan.
Sudah terdengar suara saya?
Sudah Pak.
Oke, selamat pagi. Terima kasih Siti sudah membuka acara ini dengan sangat menyenangkan ya. We know that this morning I think nggak cerah ya Siti, hari ini agak mendung kayaknya. At least
Oke.
karena Siti sendiri ini Bapak Ibu actually based in Medan ya, Siti ya.
Betul, Pak. Mungkin agak berbeda ya cuacanya.
Iya, dan hari ini hari Sabtu ya, biasanya kamera saya lebih jernih, tapi hari ini kamera saya karena saya dari rumah, jadi mohon maaf kalau misal agak sedikit blur ya Bapak Ibu. Tapi salam kenal untuk Bapak Ibu semua. Terima kasih di hari Sabtu ini, tanggal 11 Februari 2023, sudah menyempatkan waktu untuk hadir dan mengikuti workshop kita di hari ini dengan topik speaking tadi seperti yang sudah Siti jabarkan begitu. Nah, hari ini saya akan membuka acaranya dan nanti akan dilanjutkan dengan Mr. Francesco untuk menutupnya dan juga dengan memberikan beberapa workshop task. I think it is important for me to also mention that because this is a workshop, it means that it is important for Bapak dan Ibu to also pay attention from the start till the end, because we are going to give some kind of like a task, right? Because it is going to be transferred to JP. Karena sertifikat JP-nya itu nanti memang perlu untuk kami nilai, begitu ya. Perlu untuk kami assess sebelum kami bisa memberikan sertifikat JP tersebut. Oke, nah sepertinya baiknya kita mulai saja karena ini partisipannya sudah semakin banyak yang masuk. Again, thank you, dan saya akan izin untuk share screen. So, mohon izin, saya akan mulai share screen ya. Hari ini saya melakukannya sendiri nih Bapak Ibu, jadinya no operator, makanya agak sedikit. Nah, oke. Saya akan memperkenalkan diri terlebih dahulu ya. Baik. Oke, so this is me. Bapak Ibu salam kenal. Nama saya Tommy. I'm the founder and CEO at Atlas, dan juga saya adalah seorang academic director, working, teaching, designing lessons, have been for 10 plus years. Kemudian saya S1 di Jakarta Selatan, saya yang mengambil SPD, pendidikan bahasa Inggris, kemudian saya puji Tuhan mendapatkan kesempatan untuk terbang ke luar negeri dengan beasiswa LPDP. Jadi saya juga diterima di Columbia University. At that point, saya merasa it's very important for me to tidak berpindah jurusan karena memang itu adalah passion saya sejak saya SMP. Di SMP itu saya punya idola guru bahasa Inggris saya, dan memang dari sejak itu I told myself that okay, maybe this is my field. I think this is expertise dan talenta yang sudah diberikan kepada saya. Jadi saya merasa okay, bakatnya sudah ada, minatnya sudah ada. Okay, that's it. Makanya saya tetap fokus di TESOL. Ya, I took Master of TESOL program, Master of Arts. Itu program 2 tahun Bapak Ibu, dan akhirnya saya bisa lulus tepat waktu, dan akhirnya mendapat juga pekerjaan. Saya bekerja selama kurang lebih 2 tahun di EF New York. Jadi Education First New York adalah tempat di mana a lot of people, a lot of students yang ingin belajar bahasa Inggris dari seluruh dunia terbang tuh Bapak Ibu ke New York hanya untuk memperbaiki, meningkatkan proficiency bahasa Inggris mereka. Jadi dari 80 plus negara Bapak Ibu, bayangkan, I met different types of native mother tongue, ya kan, ada yang bahasa Perancis, aksen bahasa Perancis, bahasa Jepang, aksen bahasa Jepang. Ada yang memang sudah fossilized, ya kan? Sudah tidak bisa diubah lagi karena sudah fossilized aksennya. Ada juga yang cepat sekali dia shifting untuk make it sound more natural, seperti itu. Tapi pengalaman-pengalaman itu yang membuat saya semakin kaya akan knowledge, dan akhirnya saya mudah-mudahan hari ini bisa sharing dengan Bapak Ibu knowledge saya, dan bisa bermanfaat. Oke. Nah, ini sekian perkenalan saya. Nah, slide materi saya ada di slide yang satunya lagi. Okay, so today the topic is, for me, is constructivist methods in teaching a speaking classroom. Saya mohon untuk Siti dan admin jika saya sudah lewat waktu untuk diingatkan ya, supaya kita tetap on time hari ini. Nah, Bapak Ibu mungkin sudah pernah mendengar istilah constructivist methods, atau mungkin Bapak Ibu belum pernah mendengar ini. Tetapi yang perlu saya sampaikan adalah constructivist methods have been have a lot of research, ya. Dia being heavily researched these past years karena memang menjadi sebuah teaching method yang lebih dipercaya bisa menggandeng dari students kita, terutama students untuk generasi yang kita ajar dari tingkat SD, SMP, dan SMA. Seperti yang Bapak Ibu tahu, saat ini kita sedang mengajar generasi Z ya. Generasi Z yang memiliki karakteristik tertentu, memiliki pandangan point of views tertentu, seperti itu. Memang yang namanya pendidikan ini, it's always evolving, right? That's why kita sebagai English language practitioner perlu untuk terus mengupdate nih Bapak Ibu, seperti apa saja yang baik, apa saja yang terbaik untuk anak didik kita. Nah, hari ini saya ingin mengenalkan what we call as Constructivist Method. Nah, kalau Bapak Ibu lihat, this is some kind of game, alright, yang Bapak Ibu bisa ajarkan, bisa awali pelajaran Bapak Ibu dengan sebuah warm up activity. Ya, hari ini saya nggak mau dimainkan dengan Bapak Ibu, tapi saya hanya mau tunjukkan saja, gitu. If we start with something like this, okay, and then we're gonna ask our students, what is it? And they're gonna say, oh, it's a ball, right? Terus kemudian Bapak Ibu akan lanjut, what is this? Oh, this is something more challenging, right? Nggak terlalu jelas apa. And then you can say, it's a button, gitu ya. Kalau kita terus lanjut dengan hal yang setipe, hal yang serupa, menurut Constructivist Method, itu bukan sesuatu yang efektif. Kenapa? Karena Constructivist Method itself, Bapak Ibu, it comes from the root word construct, right? Means membangun ya Bapak Ibu. Kita bangun, kita berikan mereka fondasi, akhirnya mereka akan bisa untuk bersiap ketika sudah kita berikan semua dasar-dasarnya. Nah, ini yang dipercaya dari banyak sekali ya ELT researchers ya di bidang-bidangnya kita nih Bapak Ibu, bahasa Inggris, pendidikan, bahwa ini saat ini adalah something yang benar-benar paling efektif gitu. Kita construct dulu bangunannya di students kita, baru kita lanjut. Nah, kembali ke games ini, bahwa saya memberikan sesuatu yang serupa. We start from a ball and then a button, begitu kan? Terus kita memberikan mungkin apple, kita kasih sebelahnya gitu. Wah, murid seneng banget karena mereka nebak-nebak gitu kan Bapak Ibu. Kompetitif ya biasanya kalau misalnya memang seumur peserta didik SD, SMP, SMA. Nah, tetapi terus-terusan, then the activity only serves merely as a warm-up gitu. Itu yang menurut Constructivist Methods perlu dihindarkan. Rangkaian rangkaian modul ajar yang Bapak Ibu masukkan nih di RPP Bapak Ibu itu perlu untuk saling berkaitan dan saling membangun Itu menurut Constructivist Method. Jadi se-trivial sebuah warm up, katanya cuma pemanasan doang supaya mereka panas gitu ya, supaya mereka nggak langsung kita hadirkan dengan materi. Nah, menurut Constructive Methods, it's actually important for us as teachers to create a very meaningful warm up, even it has to be related to the main parts of the lesson itself. Begitu. Nah, jadi saya sebagai seorang guru harus apa nih? Kita membuat sesuatu yang berbeda. Again, the keyword is meaningful. Lebih bermakna. Nah, kalau kita lanjutkan dengan ini, mungkin Bapak Ibu bisa bantu saya tebak? Anybody? Di kolom chat, ada nggak sih yang tahu ini hewan apa, Bapak Ibu? Ayo kita main sedikit deh kalau gitu, Bapak Ibu boleh. Wah, ini ada nih. Wah, keren nih Bapak Ibu. Lamanya juga perfect lagi. Ini spellingnya nih Bapak Ibu semua. Double L ya, Bapak Ibu ya. Oke, it's a llama. Adalah seekor hewan yang mungkin tidak banyak di Indonesia, ya kan? Banyaknya di Peru ya, Bapak Ibu ya. Nah, kalau kita hadirkan seperti ini, kan mereka bakal sebut, mungkin ada yang tahu gitu ya, Bapak Ibu ya, it's a llama. Tapi, kemudian, ketika kita klik, oh, it's actually another animal, seperti itu. Oh, ada yang bilang, Mr. Angga said, it looks like a goat, right? We can invite our students to do some type of critical thinking, begitu kan? Seperti Mr. Angga bilang, kayaknya it looks like a goat. But then when we reveal it, it's absurd, gitu kan? Wow, it's actually a cat. Then we're playing with our students. We actually stimulate their cognitive thinking more than just guessing vocabulary. That's what Constructivist Method is, and that's what Constructivist Method is, and that's what I believe Kurikulum Merdeka is going towards. Saya melihat bahwa kita diberikan more opportunities to actually create our own design, our own learning. CP yang diberikan, capaian pembelajaran di fase A sampai F yang diberikan kepada kita, pendidik di Indonesia, sudah dirancang sedemikian rupa supaya it's up to us as teachers to write our own tujuan pembelajaran dan alur tujuan pembelajaran so that it can be keyword meaningful. Ya, saya akan ulang-ulang nih kata meaningful sampai belakang Bapak Ibu, because that is what language learning is turning into, and that's what works for them. Sekarang dengan Bapak Ibu memberikan hal yang seperti ini, it's much more memorable. Karena mereka ingat, wah itu si Mr. Tommy kemarin ngejokes tuh di kelas, ya kan, lamanya ternyata is a cat. So when they got this new vocabulary llama, they remember that, oh, yep, it's from Peru because there was this joke with my friends, it was with a cat, gitu ya. Thank you Bapak Ibu untuk sudah partisipasi di bagian yang ini. Lanjut. Nah, ini ada lagi nih. Ya kan, kita lanjutkan. Tadi anak-anak kita udah tahu ya bahwa wah, ini misalnya Mr. Angga tadi sudah nggak serius nih. Mungkin ini something else. They're gonna think, right? They're gonna start thinking more out of the box, gitu kan? Udah bukan cuma nebak vocabulary doang. Mereka merasa, lebih seru. Again, kita build, kita construct. Nah, apa ini? Apakah mungkin ada Bapak Ibu yang mau jawab? Can you guess what this is? Okay, I'm reading. Mr. Ratno said it's la cat. Tadi ya. Okay, Mr. Fab, thank you. Glass of water. Miss Layla, half full glass. Okay. We have water, we have pool, glass of water, glass of water. Okay. Dari Mr. or Miss Hanning, we have glass of water. British banget ya. Chair. Nah ini saya seneng nih. Udah mulai banyak yang look at it differently, right? I hope that we could also give our students something like this. Because I believe that English is more than just a language. Kita ya, Bapak Ibu, mendapat mapel bahasa Inggris, menurut saya beruntung. Karena kalau kita dikasih mapel matematika or science, itu benar-benar semuanya fact-based, ya kan? Dan when we teach mathematics, mungkin it's something that is more, apa ya ngomongnya ya? Kalau fakta itu kan kita nggak bisa ubah-ubah. Well, with English, it's a language. A language is a tool that we use to communicate, right? It means that all types of contents we can teach in English. Seperti itu. It means that kalau lagi belajar reading, kita bisa memberikan students kita sebuah reading yang actually mata pelajaran science. Ya kan? Misalnya belajar bukan curah hujan, siklus hujan seperti itu. Yang berasal tadinya dari apa sih kalau hujan itu from the ocean ya. Kemudian lanjut ke langit, akhirnya turun lagi. Itu kan actually it's science ya Bapak Ibu. And then it means that when it is actually also science, then we also teach English. Kita merangkap nih, kaya sekali students kita yang nggak hanya kita berikan foundationnya, which is grammar and the structure itself, the vocabulary, right? But then we also teach them a content base, which is in this case science. Saya mendapat kabar ini dari tim admin bahwa ada peserta yang only understand English. Jadi saya izin ya Bapak Ibu untuk hadirkan ini dalam full English. Hopefully tetap bisa dipahami. Jika ada pertanyaan atau kurang jelas, mohon sampaikan nanti ke tim kami juga. Alright, so I'm gonna change this fully in English at this second, ya. Alright, so yes, it could be a chair, all right? But the first answer that I got from the chat was, it's a half, was it half full? Let's see, let me scroll it back up. It was from Miss Layla. Miss Layla said, it's half full glass. Yes, it's a half full glass, that's the answer. All right, so this is something also that our students could also answer, probably chair, like Bapak Ibu, right? It could also be half empty glass. Then we can talk a lot about the philosophy behind the belief that, is it a half full glass? Is it half empty glass, right? We talk about motivation. We talk about our views of life, right? This is great to be used with our secondary students because they think more, right? They use their brain more in terms of something that is not really factual, something that is more abstract. We love this and students love this. So again, my point of showing you guys Bapak Ibu this game is because it is something that is more meaningful to them. Again, the keyword is meaningful. All right. Now, today's agenda, upon the completion of this session, Bapak Ibu are expected to be able to, okay, this is very lesson planning, right? Bapak Ibu deals with a lot of lesson plans. And we always start our lesson plans with SWOT. Students will be able to. Students will be able to. So this is something that I want to put here. You're expected to be able to, but don't worry. Today, actually, because even though the word constructivist methods might be, you know, for some people, it's newer, it might be overwhelming, right? But I won't talk that much about it because I think, in my opinion, the most important part of today of my session is for Bapak Ibu to get something that you can implement right away, that you can apply to your classroom right away. Now, the word constructivist approach is very theoretical. So that's why I started with the game, and we're gonna have one slide about it, and then we're gonna go straight to speaking and what Bapak Ibu can implement in your classroom. All right, so Constructivist method. All right, so Constructivism is an innovative strategy in which students construct their knowledge themselves through interaction with each other on the basis of previous experiences. All right, so in boldface over there, you see on the basis of previous experiences. Means that first class, second class, third class has to be related, right? We talked about the game earlier as like one session only. Now, if we look at the bigger picture, we actually pull back and then we can see that, okay, in a year, maybe I will meet these class for how many times? Even the first class to the next class, it has to also be linked and related. That's why on the basis of previous experience. So even though Kurikulum Merdeka invites teachers to be independent in terms of choosing whichever module that we decide or we prefer to teach based on our students' ability, it is actually important for us to still pay attention to how our students are progressing. Okay, it means that we can't just pick and choose whatever we want. We need to pick and choose whatever suits our students' needs. Okay, and then we build upon that. Again, we construct, we build, we give them the foundation. Now, it is important for me to also emphasize that it is a student-centered rather than teacher-centered, in which teacher acts as a facilitator. I hope by this point, 2023, Bapak Ibu, there's none in this room of 228 teachers, all right, that is still teaching in a teacher-centered manner, because teacher talk time, we need to reduce it. Even nowadays, sometimes we don't even act as a facilitator. These days, when it is needed, even we probably need to act only as a resource. All right. Sometimes in the past, I think probably, let me see. When I was in elementary school, I think so. I think when I was in elementary school, I think my English teacher was still very, like controlling everything. And she talks all the time. I feel like I didn't get to actually talk. I didn't get the opportunity to try the language itself. So that's why, even for me at that time, I didn't like English. If Bapak Ibu remembers earlier, I said I loved, even until now, I love being a teacher, because when I was in middle school, I met my favorite teacher, who's an English teacher. I feel like in that era, a lot of teachers still acts as the director of the class, not even as manager, as the director, like they control everything. But my middle school teacher at that time makes me love the language, makes me want to learn more, makes me want to perfect my articulation more, just because he at that time gives a lot of opportunity, acts as a facilitator. Okay, so just want to emphasize this, that even Constructivist method also encourages us as teachers to reduce our teacher talk time, to let the students talk more, and to focus our lesson on our students. All right, and Constructivism considered that knowledge is constructed by learners through an active mental process of development. Okay, that's why I mentioned earlier about cognitive, right? we talk a lot about mental process in here. It means that it's not solely a language lesson, but we invite our students to think more. We invite our students to reflect instead of merely learning languages. I love how some books that I've read, because I've been researching books. When I created Atlas, I've been researching books. So probably already over 2 years now. When I see a book that has some kind of like consolidation, review, reflection part, I'm gonna be happy, just because that's sometimes what we miss as teachers, is to teach the material without wrapping them up. Now, naturally, the brain of our students, they're still very malleable. So if you see like what do you call, like a Play-Doh, right? We can like form them into whatever. Now, maybe for us, our brain is already very formed, like it's different, right? That's why even if we talk about accent, fossilization already happened, and some more. If you talk about linguistics, we also talk about the golden era of learning languages. Why? Because their brain is still very malleable. That's why by actually providing them this opportunity, the platform for them to be creative, to actually think more out of the box, instead of only learning grammar, vocabulary, then we are giving them chance to become more productive, even when they actually grow up and turn into an adult, turn into a person that is actually giving contribution towards the society. All right, that's why I think it's important that the constructivist methods actually implemented in our English lesson. Now, speaking, all right, because Siti mentioned that, yes, today we're going to focus on speaking. Now, how do we link the method itself with speaking process? Speaking process starts with conceptualization, and then we formulate it, and then we articulate it. Okay, I think it is very paramount for us as teachers to understand this first before teaching it. So I'm refreshing your memory, Bapak Ibu, that we start with ideas, we conceptualize, and then we formulate it. It means that the phonology, the morphology, the syntax, the semantics, right? We need to actually pay attention to all of them, right? While we're actually speaking, even though it's oral, right? We don't even write it. We only speak. We can't even see what do we say, right? There's no letters coming out of my mouth. But Bapak Ibu understand what I say, all right? Because I, at first, still formulate it, even though it's lisan or oral. Now, after that, then I think about the articulation. How do I pronounce the words? How do I stress the word and the sentences? What's the difference between word stress and sentence stress, right? How should I actually say this? Taking into account the articulation, the rhythm, right? Also the intonation, and even my tone of voice, right? So all those all those things considered, it creates what we call speaking. Now, if we show this to our students, of course, our students are going to feel overwhelmed. They don't want to know this theory, but it is important for us as teachers to understand the theory first, so that we do not expect too much from our students. We should know the capabilities of our students. That's why needs analysis is important. That's why in constructivist methods, it is actually crucial. Because when we build our students, how should I say this? Say we build an apartment in Tokyo, for example, in Japan. We know that Japan has or is prone to probably get a lot of earthquakes, right? That's why when engineers build apartments or buildings in Japan, they're going to consider all the factors first. Okay, so maybe because this is in Japan, not in Jakarta, then they need to consider all the other things. It's actually the same with our students, that they all have different needs. They are all different types. Even when we talk about it, it's going to be super long, right, Bapak Ibu? We know that even in the same class, in only one class, our students have different learning types. Some are visual, some are auditory, some are kinesthetic, right? And a lot more different types that we can talk about, not just the learning types. Even yesterday, I was speaking about differentiated instruction. All right, we talk about slower learner and faster learner and how do we deal with them. My point here is that we need to really pay attention to their abilities first before we expect them to actually produce and perform. That's why we start from helping them first in the very first foundation, the very basic of the base, which is conceptualization. We as teachers in Constructivist Method shouldn't expect our students to actually speak right away. Sometimes our mistakes is, okay, for example, Bima, you guys, not you guys, only one person. So you should, for example, speak in front of the class as long as 5 minutes about your holiday, without giving them the arms, the weapons, the instruments, the tools to actually speak for 5 long minutes. Can you guys imagine? It's 5 long minutes of a monologue. Maybe if he is a B1 student, so pre-intermediate, it's going to be not as easy as an advanced student, right? That's why we need to help them conceptualize. So Bapak Ibu will start with something that is called drafting, right? Something that is called outlining, right? After they're done with their drafting and outlining, then we can continue with the formulation. So we talk about the language. We do language focus, right? We check their grammar, maybe. We check their word choice, right? Vocabulary in speaking. We also talk about word choice. I want to say that because sometimes when I observe classes in schools, sometimes, okay, for example, they say the word that means the same exact thing as the other word, but it means differently. Like it inherently, they probably, sure, they're similar, they're synonyms, right? But it affects the nuance of the whole speaking, right? So word choice is so important. So in formulation, we help them do that. If Bapak Ibu know, in TOEFL scores and IELTS scores, one of the things that they also assess in the speaking section, and the third and the fourth part is grammar and the vocabulary. Usually it's those stuff, or grammar, vocabulary. Because why? Because they are the foundations before we go to skills, even not just speaking. I believe Bapak Ibu knows in reading, listening, writing, if we don't arm them with all the tools for them to actually use the skills, I think we are kidding ourselves. Our students are going to struggle. So it's very important, Bapak Ibu, that we help them conceptualize and formulate first before we ask them to articulate it. Okay, then after they articulate it, of course, we're gonna pay attention to all the things that I mentioned before, such as stress, rhythm, pronunciation, and intonation. Okay, I hope so far it's pretty clear. And I hope so far I make it clear that this method, I believe it's great for us when teaching speaking. Now, we as teachers in Constructivist Method need to also pay attention to the subskills, not only the process, but also the subskills. This is by Lackman in 2010. I got it from his journal. So responding and initiating, repair and repetition, turn-taking skills, range of words and grammar, relevant length, discourse markers, accuracy, appropriacy, using functions, it's a typo there, and fluency. I put fluency in the middle. Why? Because again and again, oftentimes I go to classes, teachers focus only on fluency. I think it is, well, what I would say is this is not Constructivist Method. If a teacher focuses directly, a teacher focuses directly on fluency, then they usually forget that speaking is not just being fluent. Speaking also takes into account appropriacy. As trivial as it sounds, right? Whether something is appropriate or not. We talk about the register. When do we need to be formal? When do we need to be informal? When can we use this word? Right? Even when we talk about languages, Bapak Ibu, English is rather simple. I learned Mandarin, I learned Korean language, and I know in Korean language, there's like, was it 6 levels or 5 levels of formal, like register? Like we talk about Bahasa Jawa, right, Bapak Ibu? Maybe Bapak Ibu, some of you speak Javanese language, right? There's all those levels of like halus and kasar, right? Same thing goes for Korean language, but in English, not so much. If Bapak Ibu really like take deep dive into it, right? It's rather simple if we compare it to other languages, but there is still appropriacy that we need to still teach our students. I think all these nuances in speaking is still very important. And how we build our students as teachers is also something that we need to take care of, right? Maybe we start with the functions, right? All the functions, the expressions. Maybe it's important first before they go to fluency to actually help them, assist our students in all those expressions for responding, even for initiating. How do we as teachers expect our students to be fluent when they don't even know at least 5 ways to initiate a conversation, say, right? So I think sometimes, again, we forget about this. That's why I put forward this subskills for Bapak Ibu to pay attention. And don't worry, Bapak Ibu, you see a lot of like words here, but later on, our team will share this material. Okay, so I think some of Bapak Ibu ask, yes, you guys will all have these materials to review later on. But don't forget that speaking is very complex. It also includes discourse markers, the length. I talk about asking one of our students to speak for 5 minutes. Are they ready for it? Yeah. If they're C1, C2 levels, yeah, sure. They are probably ready to even talk for 30 minutes. Just in front, just doing a speech or something like that. Not even with that much of preparation, but we as teachers need to still help them with the range of words and grammar, say. Because grammar is not only taught in A levels, right? Even in C levels, there are still grammars to be learned. Like usually in C2 books, I'm going to see something that is called inversion, okay? Maybe not something that is super essential to be taught to early levels, but for students in C levels, yeah, why not? We see inversions in novels, in literary like reviews, even like in fictions, right? And by teaching them that is going to help them even explore more. But my point is we build and we construct our students, Constructivist method. Okay, now fluency versus accuracy. Now, Bapak Ibu saw that I put fluency in the middle and then accuracy some kind of like on the side, right? Accuracy is the production of grammatically correct spoken language that's based on British Council. Meanwhile, according to Skin, fluency is the ability to produce the spoken language without undue pausing or hesitation. Here, why I show Bapak Ibu this one is because I want to show that accuracy and fluency, we need to balance them. As teachers in Constructivist method, I think what I see usually, there are some teachers who favor accuracy more. Okay, they teach a lot of grammar, they teach a lot of vocabulary, but sometimes forget how fluency is rather also important for our students to use later on in their life, right? In their workplace, in their university, when they're even writing, right? Sometimes fluency is also important because in this case, when we talk about without undue pausing, right? It's related to only speaking, right? So when I earlier talked about writing, it's not really relevant. But when we talk about fluency itself, without the grammar, sure, maybe sometimes, or not even sometimes, I would say most of the times, we would understand, right? We go to a certain place, or say a classroom then, a beginner classroom. Our students still have broken English, right? They speak to us, they try their best. We need to appreciate them trying their best to use whatever language that they have already prepared, right? But it's still broken. But do we understand them? I would say most of the times, yes. Okay. I believe maybe Bapak Ibu, some of you already have this experience as well. I love traveling. I love learning different cultures and see what's happening out there. When we go to a country where there's not a lot of proficient English speakers, if we ask a question with full, very nicely put together sentence, say as simple as, could you please show me the direction to the bank? Or could you please show me where the bank is? All right. That's what we teach our A2 level students, right? Around like elementary students. That's what we teach them. Could you please show me where the bank is? If we say that, well, for example, when we go to say, I don't know, Japan, they would understand because they're A level, they're A1 level. They don't have that many vocabulary, not even vocabulary. They don't even understand why you put the is at the back. All right. Could you tell me where the bank is? Wait, why is we ended with is? For example, sometimes my students ask me that as well. All right. So, but then when we ask where bank, they will understand super easily. Where bank, right? Oh, they're gonna show us. Oh, the bank. They're gonna like point to the bank, right? Or the direction. They're not gonna tell us like, oh, okay, so like what we teach our students, right? Like, so from here you go straight in the intersection, you turn left. When you see the supermarket, you're gonna see the dark alleyway. You're gonna go straight there. When you go out, the bank is gonna be on your right. They're not gonna say something like that. So why do we teach the accuracy? Why is this still important? Because we live in a society. That's the answer. Yes, you can just use very broken English to talk and people sometimes will understand, right? But you cannot go to a meeting with a client, say 2 clients working in a multinational companies, and saying to them using broken English, because a broken English is not something that is considered formal. And we cannot take the risk to teach our students less accuracy for the sake of their enjoyment. Sometimes they say, miss, it's okay. It's only one grammar mistake. We're gonna still have to tell them. Whether or not they like it, we're gonna tell them, hey, so this is the right way. So now you know. So next time you use it, you're gonna know. Because it's always better to have and to speak this more correct English so that you could use it in more settings, not only with your friends, because your friends won't care if you make mistakes. It's informal setting, right? Your family won't even care because they know that you're learning, right? But when you go outside in a more professional setting, right? In a more setting that they expect you to be more, say, fluent or say more eloquent, right? They're going to expect you to be more accurate. And it's just how society works. That's why for teachers who favor accuracy more or for teachers who favor fluency more, I suggest Bapak Ibu to always balance this in the middle because both are vital. Now, what influences speaking competence? There are, of course, more than just one factor, right? I mentioned cognitive factors in the beginning, talking about how we think, how our students think, cognitive. We also have linguistic, right, of course, and then the affective, more mental, right? So because I'm running out of time, Bapak Ibu, it's almost 10, so I'm going to be quite faster. So cognitive factors, human's mind has a limited attentional capacity, right? We're going back to fluency and accuracy. That's why it's important for us to expect just at the right portion in moderation. We know our students better. We are going to be able to give them better lessons suiting to their needs and how their cognitive and how their brain is the situation. And then linguistic factors, right? There's a black cat. They need to understand that, for example, in different languages, like for example, in Indonesian, in Bahasa Indonesia, that the order is different, right? The noun and the adjective, there's a black cat. It's not the same as the other language. There's so many. Not only this, it's just example, of course. So many linguistic factors. That's why we need to also build this foundation first. The cognitive and also the linguistic and then the affective. Now I'm giving Bapak Ibu a model of teaching speaking. So why is it constructivist? Because we built from the very beginning, from the pre-task planning, pre-speaking support, authentic input. Very, very important. All very important. Now, for example, here, I'm getting this from one of our books in Atlas. So listen to the song, I Like You So Much You'll Know It by Isabel Cuevas, then complete the missing lyrics. And then you go to grammar, right? Talking about likes and dislikes. So what's the grammar? Okay, so with the subject. And then if it's simple present, right, we're going to choose the correct verb. If it's third person, of course, we're going to use S or ES, loves. And then you finish with a noun, right? I like strawberry cupcakes. Nick loves watching scary movies. You don't like swimming. Negative, right? With don't. And of course, if it's third person, we're going to use doesn't. And then Maya hates washing dishes. Okay, so it's also negative, but it's in affirmative sentence, right? That's why we don't use don't and doesn't. So all that is important to be taught because, again, those are the foundations. All right. Now, when we ask about likes and dislikes, also different types of sentence, right? It's interrogative. And then after that, you give them some kind of like example. In this case, is listening example. Listen to what each person likes and dislikes. Also, they all get the context, right? The examples, very important. Examples, examples, examples. After we give them examples, in this case, through an audio listening or listening audio, you give them, start to give them more controlled practice, Bapak Ibu. So in this case, it's with true or false, all right? True or false. There are some statements there based on the audio. And then you go to the while listening activities. You go to the while listening activities. Here, we have speaking task, information gap task, for example, some problem solving task is great for their brain, right? We ask them, we invite them to think, and also social monologues. Just some examples. And then you use some fluency technique, for example, like 4-3-2 techniques. Those are some examples of while speaking activities. And then we end with post-speaking activities such as language-focused activities and self-repairs and corrective feedback. Of course, we can extend our lesson by giving them task repetition. Okay, so this model of teaching speaking, I believe, follows Constructivist method, and I believe is suitable for our students, especially these days with their situation and all the nuances behind it. Take a look. After we give them more controlled practice, Bapak Ibu, we can give them more freer activities. This is already in the while speaking activities. After we build all the foundation, we start giving them something that where they can actually produce. Take a look. Ask your friend about their favorite day and what activities they like doing on that day. I took this from one of Atlas books, Unit 3. The title of the unit is What Do You Like? Right? So the first person said, what's your favorite day? And then the second person said, my favorite day is Wednesday. All right. And then, why do you like Wednesday? Oh, I have a dance practice, blah, blah, blah. And then the friend said, that sounds so exciting. That sounds so exciting. Okay, right here is a full conversation between two people, but before we just ask them and give them instruction, hey, okay, now you guys ask your friend about their favorite day and what activities they like doing on that day. They're gonna look at each other and be so confused. Maybe some of them who are already more ready could probably like be excited and start right away. You know, we always have those students, right, Bapak Ibu? But not all of them. We as teachers should cater to all of them, should actually take care of all of them. That's why more examples. Take a look in Atlas book. There is, for example, here, after giving them audio example, we give them also something that's more visual, right? Again, different styles. Maybe for the auditory, we give them, okay, the audio, they got it. Maybe the visual ones, we're still kind of, you know, like, not super sure about it. So probably it's the best if we could give them something more visuals also. In this case is comic. Okay, wait a second, I have a guess. Okay, sorry for that. So now we continue with activity E. Check the cover page of Unit 3. What does each person like? So we go on to language focus here. All right. So some examples of what people would like. And then we go to the next one. Talk to 2 of your friends. Ask them what they like and dislike to do on the weekends. Now they even get something that is more free. So now they need to talk to 2 of their friends. For example, what do you like to do on the weekends, Omar? I like jumping with a skipping rope. And then we end it with something that is fun and memorable. An example of our warm-up earlier, right? Okay, the llama has a cat face. Fun and memorable. Why don't we start doing bingo? I like bingo. And then we give them some instructions. In this case, is you go around, you ask questions, try to get the answer, yes, I do. If they get yes, I do, oh, my friend likes fishing. So they can actually cross the bingo. So this is an example, Bapak Ibu, of something that you guys can all do following Constructivist method that can actually maximize our students in their speaking skills. After that, we can end with language focused activities such as comparing, noticing, and integrating, right? And then, of course, we help them repair. We give them corrective feedback. And don't forget, corrective feedback is not yes, no, right, wrong, right? Or do you understand? Instead, we ask them comprehension check questions first to make sure they understand all of it. And then we also give them corrective feedback in terms of their techniques. And don't forget, Bapak Ibu, you can also rely on the faster students. Peer correction is something that is usually effective in some types of classes, not all classes, all right? In some classes where they're still probably not super confident, or they probably would be overwhelmed just by listening to your feedback, right? Maybe you can start with peer correction, asking their peers to help them. If you believe that, for example, their peer is already more ready, the faster student can always help the slower students in giving feedback. And then don't forget also that they can also do self-correction by you eliciting questions, right? You don't directly give whatever that they did wrong or incorrect or error. Rather, you elicit. Okay, so lots and lots of types of corrective feedback. Maybe one day, I think it's great if Kido Creative and also Atlas can collaborate and we can also give a workshop about corrective feedback, I think I'm down for that. All right, so this example, what do you like? Also still from, oh, this is from English Escalade book. So this is for our middle school and high school students. So if you're interested in reading more of the books, you can always contact Kido Creative Sales. So what do you like? Ask your friend if he or she likes these things and what the reason is. Okay, this is something that is more post as like a review. All right, I think I'm done. Hopefully by the end of this session by me today, we are a half full glass, not half empty glass. So we are a half full glass, more optimistic with how English teaching and learning is in our country, Indonesia, and also more optimistic in getting our students to achieve in our English language classroom. Thank you. I'm giving it back to Siti. Thank you. Bapak Ibu.
Okay, thank you for the presentation of very useful material ya Pak Tommy. Now we'll move to question and answer session. If there are any question, please text it on the chat box and I will read it for Pak Tommy. Nah, boleh kalau misalnya Bapak Ibu ada yang memiliki pertanyaan terkait dengan materi yang disampaikan oleh Pak Tommy, saya berikan kesempatan untuk drop pertanyaan tersebut di kolom chat. Oke. Atau mungkin ada yang mau langsung raise hand. Mungkin ngetik cukup lama karena kita juga sangat sempit waktunya. We have limited time right now. Mungkin ada yang mau raise hand dan langsung bertanya dengan Pak Tommy. Saya berikan kesempatan juga untuk Bapak Ibu boleh raise hand by Zoom meeting. Oke, Miss Ingrid, boleh open cam dan silakan menyampaikan pertanyaannya to Mr. Tommy. Tim panitia boleh ditolong unmute Miss Ingridnya. Oke.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity. I want to ask about how constructive methods can provide for disability students to learn English. Thank you. For example, when we use Atlas, any other way for us to teach. For example, the student that disabilities such as dyslexia or autism, can you help us as a teacher to teach them? Thank you.
Oke, terima kasih Miss Ingrid. Mungkin saya coba ulangi pertanyaan dari Miss Ingrid, Pak Tommy. Miss Ingrid bertanya bagaimana Constructivist Method bisa membantu untuk mengajar anak-anak dengan disabilitas, ya, dengan adanya disabilitas seperti itu. Apalagi apakah Atlas bisa membantu untuk mengajar para anak disabilitas ini? Apakah ada salah satu specialty dari Atlas yang bisa membantu para guru untuk mengajar anak-anak disabilitas? Sekian Pak Tommy.
Okay, thank you for the question, Miss Ingrid. I'll just answer directly, yeah. So I think it is even more crucial for us teachers to teach using constructivist methods when our students are having this type of need, yeah. We call some of the students disabled, okay, or I think that's the right term, right? I apologize if that's not the right term, but for disabled students, it means that they actually need more of our assistance. When I was studying in America, when I was in New York, even because we're in like master setting, right? A lot of us are rather older, but I did have 2 disabled students, and it's not even about physical disability. It's more like how they think, right? How they are slower in terms of how they could probably write, and some of them even the teacher at that time, she printed the tests in a bigger font face, so the student could also read faster, right? So what I'm trying to say here is talking about, because yesterday I was just talking about differentiated instruction, it is important for us teachers to take care of all students, as I've mentioned earlier. And in this method, constructivist method, is even more important because it means that this disabled student we need to take care of. Sometimes there's only one, right, out of 30 students. Do we need to also take care of this person? Yes, that's the answer. I think the answer is yes. We as teachers, is a tough job, right? That we are the first like doors for them to actually achieve, to reach their dreams, their future, right? And if we neglect this one student, then it is not great, because this student also is trying their best to be able to be at least the same as the other students, but then they are, for example, maybe there's this accident or they're born that way, right? It means that when we are building the other students at the same pace, we need to also make sure that we don't let the student be behind in terms of their learning as well. That's why I think for disabled students, to answer your question, Ms. Ingrid, it is very important for us to give them more individualized attention. All right, we start with more individualized attention, and that is totally okay to give more individual attention to this student first, and then we can also, of course, not forgetting our most of the other students. But to answer your question, in constructivist methods, we actually give them more individuals attention before we build the other. All right, I hope that answers your question.
Oke, Pak Tommy, terima kasih untuk jawabannya. Semoga terjawab ya, Miss Ingrid, jawaban dari Pak Tommy untuk pertanyaannya. Nah, mungkin satu pertanyaan lagi sebelum kita lanjut ke sesi berikutnya. Ini dari Mr. Avandi. I have a question. How do we know that we have balanced lessons on fluency and those on accuracy? Thank you.
Wah, ini saya senang banget Bapak Ibu. So many great questions I'm reading, but really sad that we are limited in time, because I do want to discuss with Bapak Ibu. I love this type of I love how passionate you are, because I see all the questions, but I think Siti chose already one question already. How do we know that we have balanced lessons on fluency and those on accuracy? How do we know that we have balanced lessons on fluency and those on accuracy? All right. So let's see. When we have a balanced lesson between fluency and accuracy, we can really tell, because especially in constructivist methods, Bapak Ibu, we start by giving them foundations. And we would talk about foundation. Sometimes we start with all the language aspects, such as grammar, vocabulary, pronunciation, right? And then we're going to think that, wait, is it all accuracy, right? But we can't think like that, because all our lessons should be related to each other. we can't really tell just by seeing one part of the lesson. That's why we, as teachers, and maybe maybe there are some teacher trainers here, more seniors, we're mentoring our juniors too, right? We're gonna have to see from this very beginning if they start with giving foundation first or not. Sometimes teachers forget to pre-teach the vocabulary, right? It's very important. They cannot speak without it. We forget to teach the expressions first. How accurate are they? Right? We go straight to production. I see some books, Bapak Ibu. Unfortunately, I've seen some books that go straight. You see the word speaking, okay, but they go straight to production. It's not something that is ideal. So by the end, we're gonna see a part that is probably more focusing on the fluency, right? Whether or not our students use hedges or filler words such as you know, or well, or like. We don't want our students to use that many filler words, right, Bapak Ibu? Also, pauses. Do they do a lot of pauses, like silent pauses, or like the pauses, or like the pauses? Or if you teach Latin American students, they're gonna say a like that because they use it from their native language, right? Do we want them to do that? Yes, it's okay to use that at first, but we as teachers help them so that they could use less of those filler words and pauses. And that is an example of a more fluency focused lesson, right? I think, Bapak Ibu, it's great to have a balance in those two, but it is not that easy to distinguish whether or not, oh, this lesson is balanced, this other lesson is not balanced. But what we need to do as teachers is to really make sure that we know that those two, both things, both aspects are important. And we do teach them, our students, both aspects too. I hope that answers the question. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for the answer, Mr. Tommy. Semoga menjawab untuk Pak Afandi, jawaban dari Mr. Tommy. Baik, kita akan masuk ke sesi selanjutnya. Namun sebelum itu, for all the participants may give applause in the chat column to Mr. Tommy by giving like this applause emoticon. So, yeah. Okay, we're going to the next session. Oke, baik, kita akan masuk ke sesi selanjutnya. Sebelum itu, silahkan saksikan video dari Atlas berikut ini.
Jadi guru itu harus ekstra sabar. Tidak jarang murid mengalami kesulitan, namun tidak berani bertanya.
Kadang capek dan bosan. Setiap sebelum ngajar harus buat dan update lesson plan. Ditambah lagi kemampuan dan kebutuhan siswa itu berbeda-beda. Harus ditanya satu persatu di mana permasalahannya. Tapi setelah saya mencoba pakai Atlas, motivasi belajar murid saya meningkat tajam. Karena selain memiliki buku interaktif dan LMS yang user-friendly, metode pembelajarannya juga menarik dan mudah dimengerti. Lalu saya merekomendasikan ke teman guru bahasa Inggris yang lain.
Atlas memang merupakan solusi yang selama ini saya cari. Kini, murid saya jadi jago berbahasa Inggris karena terus belajar dan praktek dengan video pembelajaran bahasa Inggris di rumah.
Syukur sekarang ada Atlas. Banyak pilihan metode ajar dan media pembelajaran up to date. Tanpa kursus, guru tenang, murid senang.
Welcome to Atlas. Atlas hadir untuk menyetarakan sistem pembelajaran bahasa Inggris di seluruh Indonesia. Pada generasi saat ini, sangat mengharuskan kita sebagai kaum muda untuk menguasai pelajaran bahasa Inggris untuk membuka jendela dunia dan menaklukkan isinya. Misi Atlas adalah meningkatkan kualitas edukasi di Indonesia dengan memperbaiki materi pembelajaran dan cara pengajaran. Atlas adalah sebuah platform belajar bahasa Inggris yang memadukan kurikulum nasional dengan standar CEFR. Dengan fitur pendukung Atlas sebagai penunjang pembelajaran, kami memiliki fitur assessment, animated videos, lecture videos, interactive materials, Atlas Zone, lesson plan, dan worksheet, teacher resources, dan gradebook. Karena materi kami sesuai dengan kurikulum nasional, maka buku kami juga dapat digunakan untuk sekolah negeri maupun sekolah swasta. Dan dengan kombinasi materi level CEFR, maka murid dapat secara maksimal menguasai bahasa Inggris. Kami memiliki fitur lesson plan yang dapat memudahkan guru dalam kegiatan belajar mengajar. Jadi, guru akan bisa lebih fokus untuk mengajar. Dengan teacher resources yang dapat membantu guru dan mengasah kreativitas dalam mengajar, native speaker kami akan memberikan tips dan solusi agar belajar menjadi lebih menarik. Selain itu, juga ada worksheet yang dapat diunduh oleh guru sebagai bahan soal latihan atau ulangan untuk murid. Ketika murid sudah mengerjakan Atlas secara lengkap, maka murid akan mendapatkan Certificate of Completion sebagai award untuk murid yang sudah belajar menggunakan Atlas. Dengan Atlas, murid dapat meningkatkan higher order thinking skills, real world skills, dan karakter building. Buku kami tersedia dari grade 1 sampai grade 13. Dengan Atlas, belajar bahasa Inggris bisa dilakukan oleh semua kalangan, dimanapun dan kapanpun. Atlas, the next step to world-class education.
Oke, menarik ya Bapak Ibu, perkenalan singkat tentang Atlas melalui video tadi. Nah, sekarang izinkan saya mengenalkan sedikit tentang apa itu Atlas dan apa sih sebenarnya yang kami terbitkan dari Atlas ini. Oke. Baik, jadi sedikit background kenapa Atlas ini didirikan oleh co-founder kita, Mr. Tommy. Jadi pendidikan adalah hak bagi semua orang dan Indonesia menurut ranking berada di peringkat ke-80 untuk kemampuan berbahasa Inggris sangat jauh berbeda dibandingkan negara-negara ASEAN lainnya seperti Malaysia, Singapura yang saat ini berada di peringkat ke-4. Dan dengan Atlas ada target yang nantinya kami ingin murid sudah mencapai level CEFR C2 ketika mereka lulus nantinya. Nah, ini beberapa sekolah yang saat ini sudah menggunakan Atlas sebagai pembelajaran bahasa Inggris di sekolah mereka dan akan bertambah pastinya ini juga belum semua yang kami tampilkan pada layar presentasi. Nah, our vision and mission, visi kita ingin menyetarakan pembelajaran dan ekosistem belajar bahasa Inggris yang berkualitas di seluruh Indonesia. Jadi, anak yang sekalipun tinggal dan bersekolah di daerah pedesaan bisa merasakan pembelajaran bahasa Inggris yang sama levelnya dengan anak-anak di kota. Misi kita, meningkatkan kualitas pendidikan bahasa Inggris di sekolah dengan revolusi materi dan metode pembelajaran. Nah, Atlas mengeluarkan atau menerbitkan buku pelajaran bahasa Inggris untuk digunakan sekolah dalam proses belajar mengajar mata pelajaran bahasa Inggris. Buku Atlas ini disusun oleh para pakar pendidikan bahasa Inggris yang tidak perlu lagi diragukan kompetensinya dan disajikan dengan metode pembelajaran bahasa terbaik melalui platform online Atlas atau biasa kita sebut di sini LMS atau Atlas Academy, Learning Management System. Nah, jadi kurikulum dari buku kita ini perpaduan antara kurikulum nasional dan CEFR kurikulum atau International Standard Curriculum of CEFR. Nah, ini dia our materials. Jadi kurikulum ini ya sekali lagi dibuat sesuai dengan kurikulum nasional Indonesia dan setara dengan standar internasional CEFR. Yang tadinya targetnya bisa membuat murid mendapatkan CEFR level C2 nantinya. Buku kita ada 2 tipe, Bapak dan Ibu. Untuk grade SD, elementary school itu English Play 1 sampai dengan 6 dan English Escalate 1 sampai 3 untuk SMP, junior high school, dan untuk senior high school itu English Escalate 4 till 6 ya. English Escalate 4 sampai 6. Jadi ada 2 tipe buku, sekali lagi English Play dan English Escalate. Ya, tampilan bukunya kurang lebih seperti ini. Dan di setiap buku ini kita sajikan ya lesson plan yang nantinya bisa membantu Bapak dan Ibu apa sih yang nanti akan dipelajari melalui buku atlas ini, dan tentunya nanti bisa membantu Bapak Ibu untuk mendapatkan referensi bagaimana mengajar di kelas menggunakan buku atlas. By learning with atlas, tidak hanya soal belajar bahasa Inggris saja, tapi di sini kita ingin mengimprove HOTS. Apa itu HOTS? Higher Order Thinking Skills. Ya, jadi soal-soal yang kita rancang, materi-materi yang kita rancang itu berbasis HOTS dalam buku atlas, dan juga mempelajari tentang real world skills, kemampuan atau skill yang diperlukan di abad 21 ini, dan character building. Yap. Jadi buku atlas ini kita sajikan atau kita integrasikan bersama dengan LMS yang memiliki banyak sekali fitur yang bisa membantu proses pembelajaran di kelas. Kalau selama ini mungkin saat di kelas, materi Bapak dan Ibu harus buat presentasinya sendiri atau slide-nya sendiri. Mungkin dengan atlas nantinya bisa lebih memudahkan. Kenapa? Karena ada LMS dengan banyak fitur ini tinggal di-show dan dipresentasikan saja pada saat Bapak dan Ibu mengajar. Salah satu fiturnya adalah video ajar dari native speaker yang nantinya bisa ditampilkan, kita bentuk tidak hanya berupa video lecture ya, tapi ada juga animasinya sebagai bentuk penjelasan dari materi-materi yang ada di buku. Ya, jadi bisa dikatakan apa yang ada di buku kita tuangkan juga ke dalam LMS. Nah, LMS ini bisa diakses oleh siswa dimanapun mereka berada. Jadi sekalipun misalnya nih udah pulang sekolah dan mereka sudah diberikan tugas oleh Bapak dan Ibu guru, mereka bingung dengan penjelasan, masih ada yang belum dipahami tentang penjelasan tugasnya, bisa membuka LMS-nya dan mendengarkan lecture video dari native speaker yang ada di LMS mereka. Ya, lalu ada film pendek animasi. Dengan film pendek animasi ini menjelaskan materi atau kegiatan yang akan dilakukan di buku, serta kegiatan listening misalnya ya. Kegiatan listening kita melihat film pendek animasi, lalu mereka akan menjawab by listening gitu ya. Lalu soal ujian assessment, di mana soal ujian assessment ini akan dikerjakan langsung di LMS oleh masing-masing siswa, dan hasil dari ujian mereka akan otomatis masuk terinput nilai datanya di dalam LMS tersebut juga. Jadi ada tampilan untuk guru, itu adalah gradebook ya, untuk menginput nilai secara online dan nanti tinggal Bapak dan Ibu cetak saja, bisa langsung terinput atau terintegrasi ke file Excel. Nah, lalu ada rapor hasil pembelajaran oleh siswa, lalu ada apa lagi quiz maker. Jadi Bapak dan Ibu guru misalnya perlu referensi tambahan selain yang ada di LMS, bisa membuat quiz dimasukkan ke dalam LMS tersebut juga. Nah, oke, modul belajar mandiri, lalu sertifikat yang nantinya akan didapatkan oleh siswa apabila sudah menyelesaikan asesmen dari setiap unit. Itu untuk siswa. Kalau untuk guru, apalagi fitur-fitur tambahan yang bisa mendukung pembelajaran? Yang pertama adalah worksheet. Kita sediakan worksheet di dalam LMS-nya yang bisa Bapak dan Ibu manfaatkan pada saat mengajar di kelas. Lalu ada classroom messaging. Jadi bisa info nih, besok kita akan mengadakan latihan bla 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 misalnya ya di dalam LMS tersebut juga, dan nanti bisa dilihat oleh para siswa yang mengakses LMS tersebut. Nah, lalu ada mapping kurikulum dan juga ada lesson plan serta video pelatihan guru, teacher training ya. Jadi bisa self online learning di dalam LMS itu untuk Bapak Ibu guru supaya bisa dapat banyak referensi bagaimana cara mengajar. Kita sediakan juga di dalam LMS-nya. Nah, misalnya pada saat Bapak dan Ibu guru merasa kelasnya tuh sedang boring-boringnya gitu ya, ingin menghidupkan suasana kelas, di dalam LMS ini juga kita hadirkan games edukasi bahasa Inggris. Jadi bisa bermain bersama, dan ini sistemnya games ya, jadi ada pemenangnya, ada peringkat-peringkatnya, jadi ada juga terlatih ya kompetisi dalam kelas dan menghidupkan suasana kelas tentunya. Oke. Nah, jadi tentang lesson plan itu bisa tinggal di-print aja karena otomatis akan terdownload jika Bapak dan Ibu membuka LMS-nya dan tinggal diikuti saja bagaimana cara mengajar dengan menggunakan buku kita dan juga LMS kita. Nah, ini tampilan untuk games-nya. Nama games-nya adalah Penguin Can Fly. Dan kita hadirkan juga fitur bernama Atlas Analytics System yang bisa atau bermanfaat untuk mengevaluasi siswa dan juga mengevaluasi guru. Misalnya untuk siswa sendiri, siapa sih siswa yang paling sering mengakses LMS ini untuk belajar? Nah, itu bisa menjadi acuan untuk Bapak Ibu guru memberi nilai lebih bagi siswa yang rajin membuka LMS-nya itu. Dan untuk para guru juga bisa dilihat ya, nanti pihak manajemen sekolah misalnya, apakah guru bahasa Inggrisnya memang aktif memakai LMS-nya atau tidak. Nah, bisa terlihat dari Atlas Analytics System ini. Dan Atlas, seperti acara hari ini, workshop hari ini, itu acara yang sering sekali kita adakan. Setiap bulannya pasti kita mengadakan webinar atau workshop, dan kita sebut di sini Atlas Community. Jadi bisa ada IG Live, workshop 32JP, webinar, teacher training, serta event-event bahasa Inggris lainnya. Jadi kita sangat aktif untuk menyajikan event-event seperti ini. Nah, ini beberapa aktivitas dari Atlas yang selama ini kita adakan dan juga kita berkolaborasi dengan produk brand-brand seperti Hello Teen untuk mengadakan kompetisi-kompetisi antar siswa yang baru-baru ini kita adakan Hello Teen Design Thinking Marathon. Jadi menggunakan LMS kita untuk perlombaan Design Thinking tingkat SMA nasional di seluruh Indonesia tahun 2022 kemarin. Nah, ini untuk manajemen dari Atlas, ya Mr. Tommy dan rekan-rekan. Oke. Nah, itu dia sekilas tentang Atlas. Mungkin di sini saya nggak bisa berpanjang lebar ya Bapak Ibu, waktu kita sangat sempit. Nah, maka dari itu, di sini Bapak Ibu bisa langsung kontak tim Kido mengenai apa itu Atlas dan bagaimana sih supaya sekolah Bapak Ibu bisa menggunakan Atlas nantinya di sekolah. Silakan hubungi tim Kido yang berada atau paling dekat dengan kota Bapak Ibu sekalian. Oke. Nah, setelah ini Bapak Ibu, kita akan masuk ke sesi break selama 15 menit. Mungkin untuk Bapak Ibu yang belum menyelesaikan sarapannya tadi atau ingin ke toilet, silakan dimanfaatkan break time ini ya Bapak Ibu. Tetap stay di Zoom dan kembali aktif dalam waktu 15 menit ya. Karena setelah ini kita akan masuk ke sesi yang akan diisi native English teacher, Mr. Francisco. See you in 15 minutes.
Jadi guru itu harus esa sabar. Tidak jarang murid mengalami kesulitan, namun tidak berani bertanya.
Kadang capek dan bosan. Setiap sebelum ngajar harus buat dan update lesson plan. Ditambah lagi kemampuan dan kebutuhan siswa itu berbeda-beda. Harus ditanya satu persatu di mana permasalahannya. Tapi setelah saya mencoba pakai Atlas, motivasi belajar murid saya meningkat tajam. Karena selain memiliki buku interaktif dan LMS yang user-friendly, metode pembelajarannya juga menarik dan mudah dimengerti. Lalu saya merekomendasikan ke teman guru bahasa Inggris yang lain.
Atlas memang merupakan solusi yang selama ini saya cari. Kini, murid saya jadi jago berbahasa Inggris karena terus belajar dan praktek dengan video pembelajaran bahasa Inggris di rumah.
Syukur sekarang ada Atlas. Banyak pilihan metode ajar dan media pembelajaran up to date. Tanpa kursus, guru tenang, murid senang.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Perkenalkan, nama saya Nur Afrima dari SMP Model Ariat Insan Cendekia Bekasi. Di sini saya mengajar bahasa Inggris. Kesan pertama menggunakan LMS Atlas. Sangat penasaran dengan isi dari materi-materi yang diberikan oleh tim Atlas dan juga tentang worksheet-nya terlebih itu. Karena ketika menggunakan LMS Atlas ini tidak hanya materi yang mudah dipahami oleh para siswa, tetapi juga memudahkan kita sebagai teachers terkait tentang resort-resort di skill listening seperti itu. Kesan positif dari anak-anak pun juga saya dapatkan ketika mereka menggunakan LMS Atlas maupun buku dari tim Atlas sendiri. Anak-anak menyampaikan bahwasanya bukunya itu sangat menarik karena banyak gambar, banyak video-video yang nanti bisa mereka putar di LMS-nya. Jadi ketika anak-anak belum paham materi-materinya di sekolah, ketika kita berdiskusi bersama dari penyampaian materi dari saya sebagai guru bahasa Inggrisnya, mereka bisa mempelajari kembali dari LMS di rumah masing-masing. Seperti itu. Overall dari saya untuk Atlas, LMS-nya memang good job.
Halo, nama saya Lia. Saya guru kelas 5. Saya juga mengajar berbagai macam disiplin di Sekolah Cikal Jakarta. Dari yang sudah saya lihat, buku-buku Atlas itu mudah sekali dipelajari buat anak-anak usia sekolah dasar karena satu, gambarnya, ilustrasinya sangat membantu anak untuk memahami materi pelajaran yang disampaikan, lalu kemudian pelajarannya disampaikan secara berstruktur, jadi mudah buat guru ataupun buat anak-anak. Kemudian untuk LMS-nya ini juga memudahkan sekali ya. Tadi dari kita bisa lihat semuanya sudah lengkap. Buat guru itu tinggal langsung ajar aja untuk produk Atlas. Karena sudah ada asesmennya juga sudah lengkap, evaluasinya dari awal, strukturnya, kuisnya bahkan sudah dipersiapkan. Sehingga anak-anak juga lebih interaktif dan ini bisa disampaikan hybrid, online dan offline. Yang juga menariknya dari buku Atlas adalah sekarang dia sudah disesuaikan dengan kurikulum Merdeka yang pada tahun ajaran ini akan segera dimulai. Juga untuk bagi mereka yang menggunakan Cambridge dan ID kurikulum semuanya sudah disesuaikan, jadi sangat direkomendasikan. Apalagi buat saya yang pakai berbagai macam sumber.
Here we are at the Galactic Cup, where we have the boys against the girls. The scoreline is currently 2-2, and with only 1 minute left of extra time, we can expect a very intense match. Now we have Lulu on the ball, and she's running up front.
Out of my way! I'm gonna score this one!
Oh, no one can get past my defense. Oh no!
This is my chance!
Lulu takes the score. Louis couldn't catch the ball since he didn't anticipate the gravity well. The score is now 3-2 for the girls.
We're behind 2-3. This is not good.
What's the play now, Max?
Take the ball and run to the front as fast as you can.
What are they planning?
Don't worry, I'll stop them.
And now we have the boys on the ball. It is going to be very interesting to see how they will respond to the goal by Lulu. Otto is on the run, is running very fast on the touchline. Max is running to the penalty box to give Otto an option. Otto sees him and makes the cross.
Oh no, I can't see clearly.
Goal! Max scores the equalizer! Zoe couldn't see the ball because she lost her glasses, and Max took the shot. It is the end of the extra time, and we continue to the penalty shootout.
Halo teman-teman, perkenalkan saya Sarah Suaib. Saya mengajar bahasa Inggris di SMP Islam Al-Azhar 44 di Bekasi. Untuk buku atlas, seneng banget saya. Pertama pasti amazed sama buku yang newbie, tapi udah punya konten yang amazing. Pertama, keunggulan dari atlas itu adalah penokohan, jadi characters, dan itu akan memudahkan anak-anak mengingat pelajaran-pelajarannya. Yang kedua, atlas itu bikin layoutnya juga menarik dari segi color sama penempatan. Dan yang ketiga, dia punya urutan konten buku dalam pembelajaran itu yang juga menurut saya challenging, tapi juga bisa diikuti oleh semua kalangan. LMS-nya juga begitu. LMS-nya menyediakan banyak platform dan media untuk memudahkan dan membantu anak-anak belajar, sehingga kalaupun mereka punya kesulitan dalam satu bahasan, mereka bisa mengulangnya kembali di media-media yang disediakan di LMS-nya. Good job! Buku atlas ini sudah dilengkapi sama berbagai keunggulan, baik dari segi penulisan maupun konten. Apalagi di dalamnya sudah memasukkan juga kurikulum insert dari isi kurikulum Merdeka. Selain itu, buku atlas juga dilengkapi dengan capaian-capaian keterampilan dalam 21st Century Learning Design. Dan itu keren banget. Jadi, buat teman-teman di sekolah manapun yang ingin menggunakan buku atlas, cepat lihat dan pelajari. Bagus sekali.
Hey everyone, Gita here. I'm going to tell you what happened during the last trip to my hometown in Bali. So, my family decided to take an extended leave for Nyepi Day. We spent 5 days in total. We usually go to Ubud the night before Nyepi and leave the following day. But this time, it was different. Since my parents already asked the school to allow me a 3-day leave, I didn't have to go to school. Yay! Anyway, we left for Bali early in the morning and we arrived by lunchtime. We didn't go straight to Ubud. Instead, we had lunch at a restaurant near Jimbaran Beach. We had yummy grilled seafood. When I met my family, my grandma said that I looked like my mother when she was young. She also said that my mother loved dancing. Then she showed me an old picture of mom dancing. My aunt, who lives with my grandma, brought out my mother's old traditional Balinese dance outfit. I put it on and everyone was amazed at how similar we looked. I couldn't help but blush. That evening, there was a Ngerupuk parade. It's a traditional parade where people would march on the streets of Bali the night before Nyepi. there are big sculptures called ogo-ogo. These sculptures symbolize evil and negative energy in the world, and during the parade, we would burn them to cleanse the streets from bad spirits. Something happened during the parade. I will never forget this. I saw someone who looked like the actor Chris Hemsworth, and I really thought it was him. He approached me and asked what we were burning, and I explained the tradition of burning ogo-ogo. I hesitantly asked if he truly was Chris Hemsworth, but he said no, although he hears it a lot. Could you imagine if I really met Chris? Now that would have been really cool.
Who are you talking to, Gita? What are you talking about?
Nothing.
Hai, nama saya Desi Purnama Kurniawati. Biasa murid-murid saya dan teman-teman memanggil saya Miss Desi. Saat ini saya mengajar bahasa Inggris di SMA Negeri 70 Jakarta. Menurut saya yang membuat produk-produk dari Atlas merupakan unggulan, lebih unggul daripada yang lain adalah dari bukunya. Bukunya lebih menarik, kontennya, kemudian alurnya juga lebih menarik sehingga memudahkan anak-anak dan juga memudahkan guru untuk memberikan materi ini kepada anak-anak sehingga mencapai capaian pembelajaran yang diinginkan. Terus kemudian LMS-nya juga sangat menarik gitu ya. Terus konten-kontennya lebih bagus dibandingkan dengan yang lain. Artinya ini mulai dari seperti judulnya juga eskalasi, dari mulai yang mudah, kemudian sedang dan sampai selanjutnya tingkat kesulitan yang complicated begitu ya, yang challenging. Jadi menurut saya sangat menarik dan kita bisa memilah, sebagai guru kita bisa memilih dan memilah mana yang cocok dan sesuai dengan yang dibutuhkan oleh murid-murid kita. Dan anak-anak pun juga bisa memilih mana materi-materi mana yang cocok dan dibutuhkan mereka untuk bisa mencapai cita-cita mereka dan apa aja yang dibutuhkan nanti di jenjang yang selanjutnya untuk di perguruan tinggi misalnya. Jadi Bapak Ibu guru bahasa Inggris Indonesia, ayo kita beralih ke buku yang menarik sehingga anak-anak semua termotivasi untuk belajar bahasa Inggris. Mereka juga pasti akan tahu gitu ya, sesuai dengan tingkat kesulitan atau hal-hal menarik mana yang mereka inginkan gitu. Jadi saya merekomendasikan buku dan LMS produk dari Atlas.
Oke, baik. Dan Bapak dan Ibu, kita akan memasuki sesi kedua. So we are going to the second session with the theme getting students to talk in the big class, which will be presented by a native English teacher. Please welcome Mr. Francesco. Hi, sir.
Hi, CT. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, it's clear.
Okay,
Are you ready
great.
to present materials?
Yeah, I'm ready. First off, there's a little bit of construction going on next to my place, so you might be hearing a little bit of noise now and then. Okay,
No, it's clear. It's clear, sir.
Okay,
Okay.
great. Thank you,
Please, sir.
CT. Well, nice to meet you, everyone. Thank you for taking your time on a Saturday to join us here together in the webinar. I'll just give you a little bit of a background on myself before we begin. So my name is Francesco, as introduced by CT, and I've been teaching English in Indonesia for what is already 11 years now. And I want to tell you a little bit about my experience with my first classroom here in Indonesia. So my first time teaching English was a pretty terrifying experience, to be honest. I was 20 and I was teaching English to a large group. If I'm not mistaken, there were close to 50 teenagers who I was actually barely older than. And in my mind, they may have possibly been just as fluent in English as I was, even though probably that was not likely the case. And that's how I was introduced to the world of English teaching. I would say it was the hard way. So before we actually really jump into the meat of our lesson, I'd like to get your feelings, everyone, on how you felt the first time you were introduced to teaching a large class. So I'm going to be sharing screen now. Let me see if I have that privilege. Okay, yes, I do. Fantastic. Okay, so I'm going to be sharing screen now, and this is actually an interactive part of our class, which means if you would like to, you're welcome to get involved and to join. So I'll give a minute for all of you if you would like to sign up, if you'd like to join in. You can see the web address at the top. It says go to www.menti.com, and you have a passcode as well. I'll be putting the link into the group chat as well for all of you to see. Hold on a moment. Okay, if you're able to join the link, if you would like to join the link, once you're in, you can press, there's a thumbs up button, there's a heart button, you can press one of them. It lets me know that you're here with me. All right, I'll give a minute for everyone or anyone who would like to join in. All right, so I'm gonna now go to the first question. This is an interactive question that whoever has joined the link can answer. And if you haven't joined yet, don't worry, there's still time. You can join in as long as the link is active in the Zoom chat. So you know how I felt when I first started teaching English in a large classroom. I was quite terrified. I'd like to know how you felt. I know some of you might be experienced teachers. Maybe you've been teaching for far longer than I have. Or perhaps you're new teachers. Maybe this might be your first year as a teacher. How did you feel the first time you were asked to teach a large class? Answer honestly. I saw excited. Interesting. I'll give 1 minute for you to submit your answers. Very interesting. So we still have a little bit of time left, but so far we have 38, now 40 submissions. And from the 40 plus students who have submitted their answers, it seems like these are the standout words that are feelings that seems like many of us have shared. And they are nervous, excited, and challenged. Okay, I'll give another 30 seconds. After that, we're going to go on to the next part. Okay, I'm going to close the voting on this. We have a lot of submissions. This is fantastic. I'm going to close the voting on this in a moment. We're going to have to keep our class today or our webinar, I should say. I'm so used to teaching English as a class. I'm going to keep our webinar today pretty fast paced because we don't have too much time on this. So I'm going to close the voting now. And these are your final answers according to the class. Excited, nervous, challenging are the most common, but we have many others. We have exhausted. I can relate to that one a lot. Frightened. Someone else said tense, interested, unconfident. Yeah. So a lot of mixed emotions, as you can see from all the answers here. Now, I want to go into another question. This one is more for like a fun fact. I'd like to find out from you, the class, what was the largest class size you've ever taught? I want to see what constitutes, what is large to you? Is a large class, I'm going to keep this closed for now, is a large class 0 to 10 students, 11 to 20, 21 to 30, 31 to 40, 41 to 50, 51 to 100, and 100 plus. Please select which is the largest class you've ever had to teach. This could be teaching, of course, to students. This could be teaching to teachers, as we're sort of doing right now in today's webinar. So like on the last question, I'll give you 1 minute if you're in the link to submit your answer. Okay, I'm going to be closing the voting now. So if you haven't submitted, you better do it right now. Closing is coming. Okay, the voting is closed, and according to the statistics that we can see on the screen, the largest class size that the majority of us here in the meeting have chosen is 21 until 30 students. So 42% of us, participants, chose that as the largest class we have ever chosen. Very interesting. We actually have 4%, so a total of 3 people have taught 100 plus students or teachers, whatever it is, or whoever it is you're teaching. So that is pretty exceptional. We have 1 person at 1% doing 0 to 10 as their largest class. So we have a very good variety here, and it's pretty high actually. I would say 42% of you teaching 21 to 30. I think that's a pretty large class size, but I think it's actually also pretty common from my experience here teaching in Indonesia for classroom size. Okay, everyone, thank you for your submissions. Hold on a moment. I'm going to go back to our other presentation. Okay, so getting students to talk in a big class. Here we are again. Now, we've been told that a big class is a threat. And I think as we talked about, and as we see from the submissions, we might feel that way. We might feel nervous. We might feel challenged, terrified. But what if I was to tell you that it's all a matter of perspective? And just like it might look like a threat, it's also an opportunity. So, for example, if you look at this previous slide, we have a group of bees chasing the man. That looks like a threat to you or to most people, but it can also be an opportunity, because just like a bee can sting, it can also provide a source of nourishment through the honey it provides. And large classes can do the same. Large classes can provide opportunities for us to develop certain skills, like our classroom management skills. That's the first one that comes to mind, but I'm sure there are countless others. And just like we've seen, just like we did in before, I'd like your help once again, everyone, to, sorry if there's a lot of noise, the construction is quite loud. I'd like your help once again, everyone, to fill in this information for me. We've talked about the largest class we've had to teach. Let's now go to what opportunities can we find in a large classroom. So this is still the same link that I put in the Zoom chat previously. So please use the link and share any opportunities that you think we might be able to find in a large classroom, because I only gave one. We can learn better classroom management skills, but I'm sure it doesn't end there. There has to be others that we can get. I'll give 1 minute for any submissions. Okay, I can see some excellent answers here. I'm not going to have time to read all of them because I think there's going to be way too many. I'll be reading them for the whole webinar, but I'm going to go through just a couple. that at least relate to what I'm going to be covering with you today. One that stands out right away is we can create group activities. That is a really good one. And we're actually going to be doing some of those. You're going to be seeing some examples of that in today's webinar. This is a good one. It's showing up a lot. Challenges. Yes, good challenges, good ways to improve yourself as a teacher. I saw earlier someone said patience. Yes, large classrooms can be excellent sources of patience testing material. Interesting group projects and activities. Yep, we're going to be covering that today for sure. Upgrade your communication skill. Yeah, there's a lot of opportunities for communication with larger classes. Not that you can't find that with smaller classes, but sometimes people think with a larger class, it's going to end up kind of being like what we're doing right now, where I talk, you listen with a little bit of interaction here and there, but that's not the case. You can actually have plenty, and I would say possibly even more so, communication and interaction with a larger class than you would with a small class. Okay, thank you everyone for your submissions of the opportunities that we can find in a large class. There is going to be more opportunity for you later to share some information, but for now, let's go back to our main topic. Okay, back to our main presentation slide. We talked about the opportunities that it can provide. Hold on a second. Okay, now we're going to go into some mind-altering mindsets. What do you benefit from a big class? So the information that I'm going to be sharing with you today is good things you might get from a big class. And this is all according to Natalie Hess. Now, that might just be a foreign name to you. So let me give a little bit of background information on Natalie Hess. So Natalie Hess was an ESL teacher who lived and worked in Sweden, the US, and Israel. She was working as an English teacher in England, Mexico, and Taiwan as well. Along with being an experienced English teacher, she also wrote many books on English teaching. A big part of succeeding in large classrooms is having the right mindsets. And this is something that I'll probably repeat several times throughout the webinar, because having the right mindset is going to put you on the right track for success in a larger classroom setting, if that is what you're looking for. So according to Natalie Hess, these are the three things we're going to be needing to adopt, the right perspectives that we need to have in order to succeed in a large classroom. And these three mindsets are: one, there are always enough students for interaction. It's not a case of there's too many, but there's always enough. Number two, there's a rich variety of human resources. And finally, more students means more opportunities for cooperative, interdependent learning. Okay, I'm going to go a little bit deeper into this. Let's go a little bit more into the first point, where Natalie Hess says there are always enough students for interactions. So I want to first read to you this story from Natalie Hess, and then I'm going to support it with some of my own examples. So Natalie Hess says that teaching very small classes consisting of 8 young men, they knew everything about one another, the 8 young men that she was teaching. And as such, they were soon quite tired of one another's company, and the class settled into a dull place. I don't know if any of you have ever had any kind of experience that matches this. Perhaps you have. And if you have, you'll understand this next point even better, and you'll relate to it. 15 lower level students from another class soon joined the 8 students. And Natalie Hess was amazed to see how the influx of these new students increased the interest, energy level, and linguistic output of the entire group. And that is exactly what we want in a class. I think also Tommy talked about this. We want to be, as much as possible, cutting down on teacher talk time and increasing our students' talk time, increasing their interest, their energy level, and especially the last one, their linguistic output. So it's only when they use the language, practice the language, that they're actually going to see sufficient improvement. And I personally have so many examples I can share on this, but rather than one specific example, I'll share about a trend that I've sort of noticed in my years of teaching. I've taught all sizes of classes, from very small classes to very large classes of 100+ students quite a few times. And I found that in many of my classes with fewer students, it seemed that after a while, a general state of familiarity would set in. And this would often lead to the students maybe half-heartedly using the material, or actually incompletely. By incompletely, let's say they're supposed to say a full sentence, they only use a half sentence, which still gets the point across. The information is understood, but it's not actually using the full structure, the full language, which is what they would need to continue to improve or to strengthen their English. And even worse, this is something that has happened to me as well. Students will get very familiar and used to each other's company to the point where they'll actually stop using English and might even switch to their mother tongue. And I think this is possibly the worst thing, because if they're using their mother tongue in class, why are they even in your class? If it is an English class, that is, they're better off, talking with their friends on social media or outside of the classroom. So in my larger classes, so now for the contrast, this is what I found in my larger classes. I found that it took much longer for the students in my class to get to know about each other. And the result of this is that it would take considerably longer for familiarity fatigue. This is what I'll coin it, familiarity fatigue, to set in. And I would usually have a longer time frame to work with, of having students who are motivated and inspired to engage and interact with their classmates. So having that mindset of there are always enough students for interaction and not seeing that as a bad thing is a huge step to improving your ability to teach large groups effectively. Okay, so aside from talking about there are always enough students for interaction, let's look at one more thing that Natalie Hess talks about. Natalie Hess talks about, in point number 2, that there is a rich variety of human resources. She goes on to say, to be in a big class means to be ready for being exposed with a great many opinions, a great many points of reference, perhaps many cultural backgrounds. And I think this applies a lot to Indonesia, even though you might think, okay, well, all my students are Indonesian. But even though they are, I think Indonesia is one of the most culturally diverse and rich countries in the world. And aside from that, the students will have their own unique experiences and opinions, which leads to many opportunities to talk. So I kind of supplemented what Natalie has said there. And a little bit more on that topic. Along with Indonesia being very culturally diverse, we have unique opinions, we have unique personalities. There are so many different activities we can then use to bring out those differences in conversation. And I found that things like team debates, small group discussions, one-on-one talks, from within those activities already, we'll have no shortage of students who can offer different perspectives or styles to every interaction. And something that also you can take away from this is that it also benefits the teacher. For me personally, it helps the classes stay fresh. They don't get dull or repetitive, as I find that not only am I learning how to teach better, which we do with every lesson, you're also learning from your students' opinions and perspectives on the different topics. So with this perspective that there is a rich variety of human resources, there can never be too many students. We have the variety of information that our students can be exposed to, which they will also be getting from themselves, from their interactions, not only from us, the teachers. And this goes a long way and aids a lot into their development. Okay, final point from Natalie Hess before we get into some of the activities that I'll use to highlight these points. Natalie Hess says on her final point that we're using for today, more students means more opportunities for cooperative, interdependent learning. So this point has a little bit of similarity to the point before. She also says cooperation works better than competition in the larger class. This is an important point, and like I said, it has similarities to others that we've talked about from points 1 and 2. And personally, I'm actually a big fan of competition within the class. I do this in the form of games and activities all the time, and I think it really helps my students to get more engaged having a little bit of that. But what I really agree with on Natalie's point is that when our students are in a large class, they have an amazing opportunity. And this is the part that I want to stress a lot because I feel very closely connected to this point. The students have an amazing opportunity that will continue to be valuable, even more so later on in life, when they enter the workforce, are leading their own team or business. And that is team working. It's an excellent opportunity for your students to learn team working. That's what I take from cooperative and interdependent learning. For me personally, as someone who was homeschooled for most of my life, I was homeschooled all the way until I was around 14 years old. I really wish I'd been given the opportunity to learn more with others, because in my homeschooling group, we only had oftentimes just by myself or with my sister or one other or two others of my cousins who would join. And I feel like I missed out on a lot of those benefits that working together in a group can bring. So personally, for me, I'm happy now that I can give my students in big classes the opportunity to do so. And I can help them to get that experience of team working well with others from an earlier age. And I personally believe that would have helped me as I got older and was faced with real life situations with results or consequences that depended on my ability to cooperate with others and teamwork. So with all that said, to conclude, class size matters, and class size can actually be very stressful. It can, like you said, a lot of you said in the earlier brainstorming session, it can be very challenging. It can take a lot of our time and effort, but how we teach matters most. The mindsets and perspectives that we adopt are what matter most. All right, now I have a couple activities that I'm going to be doing together with you to help to reinforce this a little more. All right, we won't have time to do all of these activities, to be honest, especially the last one, the jigsaw strategy, but I'll be at least giving you the information on them, how these activities work. And they are a mingle activity. And this is based on the point from Natalie Hess, there are always enough students for interaction. Swap and talk, which is based on also the point from Natalie, where she says there is a rich variety of human resources. And finally, the jigsaw strategy. And this is based on her point where more students means more opportunities for cooperative, interdependent learning. Okay, so here we go. Our first activity is the mingle activity. So I'm going to start first by reading to you the structure, the information that you're going to need for this activity. So, and that is introduce the students with the structure being how much is the product, its price, have them write items they want to sell, have students roam around the class to find a student who would like to buy a product, encourage them to use the structures while talking. So I'm going to give you now an example of how this would look from a student's perspective. So I'm going to imagine that I'm the student here, and I'm going to be getting a few volunteers from the group to help me on this. There's not too much I have available. So I'm only going to be able to ask for perhaps 4 to 5 students, or participants in this case, in our webinar to help me with this activity. So I'm going to look around me right now and I'm going to find some items. It says make a list of 5 items. I'm going to find some things that are around me right now. For example, I have a cup of coffee right here with me. So I'm going to be putting down this one on this screen. Okay, so I'm putting this as my item, but I'm not going to be telling the price now. I'm going to be asking if anyone here would like to buy my product. So here I have a cup of coffee. Are there any volunteers who are feeling quite tired. I haven't drunk from this coffee yet, I think, or perhaps I have. So it might be secondhand coffee. So I might, I might not have that many offers. Anyone interested in a cup of coffee, raise your hand, or you can put your answer in the Zoom chat. Okay, there we go. I have one from Reynoldus Michael. Okay, Reynoldus Michael. I'm going to go with you first since you raised your hand first. Reynoldus Michael, can you help me out? Let's use the structure over here. All right, you can unmute yourself, Reynold. Hi, Reynold. Thanks for helping out. What can I call you? Michael or Reynoldus?
Just call me Ray. It's fine. It's fine.
Ray. Okay. Ray, could you help me out with this? I need help to complete my list. I'm selling a cup of coffee freshly brewed.
I think it could cost 2,000.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna do that. I'll accept your advice. We'll give that at 2,000 rupiah. Okay, Reynold, can you help me to read this part as if you're a student asking and you don't see my paper, you don't know the price?
Come again?
Could you help me, Reynold, Ray, to read this part of the structure as if you're from a student's perspective? You cannot see my paper, you don't know my price. I think your sound might be off, Ray.
Cup of coffee.
Okay, there we go. How much is the cup of coffee? It's 2,000 rupiah, Ray. Are you interested in buying it?
Sure. It's it's cheap.
Okay, great. Well, the cup of coffee is yours. Thank you very much, Ray, for helping out with this. Now, after I finished communicating with Ray, as you just saw, I offered him a cup of coffee. He asked me how much is the product. I told him the price. Because this is a mingle activity, I'm going to now move on to another student. I'm going to be bringing now another product. Let me see if I have anything around me that works. Okay, I'm going to be using this. I actually use this a lot I teach a lot of private online classes, and this is a constant companion of mine. So I'm going to call this one the donut cat. All right, so this is a donut cat stuffed animal. I don't really remember where it was purchased, but I believe it was from Indonesia. Let's see if anyone is interested in purchasing my donut cat. All right, anyone interested? Raise your hand. Once you raise your hand, I'll unmute you. And can you ask me the first question from the structure? Okay, I think Sean is next. So Sean, I'm going to unmute you. I'll give you this point. Can you ask me the question?
All right. Am I clear, my voice?
Yeah, perfectly clear. Sure. I call you Sean, awesome. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, great.
All right. Wow, it's so fancy. I like the color. This is a donut cat, it seems.
Yes, this is a donut cat, yes.
Yeah, perfect. So how much is the product, sir? Like, how much the price for this donut cat?
Well, for this donut cat, it's gonna come at a little bit more of a hit than my cup of coffee. I'm gonna sell it to you, if you're interested, for 200,000.
Wow, that's quite affordable for me. So yeah, I think I'm going to buy it. Yeah.
All right,
nice.
Thank you.
Awesome product.
Thank you very much, Sean. Appreciate it. Okay, so I got my second student, and I'm gonna mingle again. And the reason why I can just keep doing this, whether my list is 5, whether my list has 10, 20, the larger your class, the more opportunity you give your students to continue to walk and ask questions, as I'm going to keep doing now with my mingle activity. I'm going to now bring my third item. Okay, my third item is going to be my most expensive one. Let's see if there's any buyers. So I'll first show you so you get an example of the product. So my third item is going to be a dog. So this one here is a toy poodle. She's going to say hi. She is 7 years old. So not the youngest, but loyal and dependable. Now, I'm not going to sell my dog. I wouldn't do that. But I'm going to offer her on rent. Who would like to rent a toy poodle? She's also good for a therapy. If you have difficulties sleeping, easily stressed, my toy poodle will help with that. So who would like to rent a toy poodle for 1 day? I'm going to give you, this is excluding food and anything else you might need. I'm going to charge you, let's do 100,000 because I'm feeling nice, for 1 day to rent my toy poodle. Anyone, any buyers? If there is anyone, raise your hand and don't forget to use the target language. Okay, I see Hanning. All right, Hanning, I'm going to go with you first. Can you unmute yourself?
Yes, sir.
Hi there, Hanning.
Hi.
So I have a toy poodle. She's 7 years old, as I mentioned. Great to help you de-stress and play. She can be a companion for your kids if you're going out. What do you think? 100,000 for a day.
Oh, I think it's pretty cheap. So I would like rent your toy poodle.
Great. All right. Thank you very much, Hanning. Now, for everyone else who's watching, you see how I right away just skipped the structure. I skipped how much is the product. I skipped the price. And this is something that will naturally happen as your students are having a great time and enjoying themselves talking. Soon they will even forget the structured language you taught them and just move on more naturally to different advanced vocabulary and communication styles that are more natural. So your structure, how much is the product, its price, is kind of like giving them a foundation or like a spring to get them started. But then from there, they'll keep using the language on their own, and you'll be actually impressed with what you hear your students are able to produce. Okay, I'll do one more because I'm actually don't have too many objects around me aside from my dog and my coffee and my donut cat. I am going to go with, here we go. Okay, so for my last product, I'm going to follow the structure on this one though. My last product is going to be golden deer. So this golden deer that I have was purchased in Bali. For those of you who are considering robbing my house, this is not pure gold. This is only a fake. So don't worry, you won't be really getting much by stealing it. But anyways, this is a golden statue of a deer bought in Bali in 2021. And is there anyone who would be interested in buying it? All right, we have a buyer, Mr. Fab.
Yes. Hello, Mr. Francesco. Since I lived in Bali for 3 years in the past, I would really love to buy that because that's the missing part of my collection. That's really, really interesting. And, you know, I'm glad to have that because it's been my life dream for my collection. How much is the golden deer?
Well, I think because you really want it, and I think you're going to take good care of it, I'll give it to you at a pretty good price. I'm going to give it to you for 100,000. So its price is 100,000. What do you think?
100,000. That's perfect to me. And the more, it's really worth to my collection. So I'm going to get it. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Fab.
You're welcome, Mr. Francesco.
Okay, and I'm going to stop this activity here because we still have 2 more that I want to go through with you. And as you can see, with a mingle activity, as I mentioned before, I'll state it one more time. You can never have too many students. It's always going to be effective. With a much smaller class, I feel that it would neither be as fun. Sorry, I got to put my golden deer back. As fun for the students, nor would it be as much of an opportunity to provide actual language usage. Because I find that when the students are just using maybe 2 or 3 times, they're going to stick only to the structure that you share with them. But as they get into the routine of it, they've done it 4 times, 5 times, they will naturally break off and use more actual language that comes from them, not just the structure that you are providing. Even if it might be wrong, but they're taking that chance to try and use new language and vocabulary so they themselves don't get bored of the activity. And this now leads us to our second activity. And this is going to be based on point number 2 by Natalie, where she says, there is a rich variety of human resource. Okay, so for this activity, because our time is still not the greatest, I might just have only 1 student work with me on this one. So there's a rich variety of human resource. Let me give you some of the details of this activity called Swap and Talk. 1, introduce the students with the structure. I need to buy item. What color do you like? I want the shoes in. What is your size? It's. And you can also see a demonstration here on the screen of how it would look like for the students talking. Now, the students are going to need to write types of clothes they want to buy. Then they're going to need to go around the class to find a partner. Once they find a partner, they will need to ask the questions to their partner. Okay, so for this activity, I'm only going to take one student to work with me on this one. So one student to be my friend. So anyone who would like to participate as a volunteer, feel free to raise your hand. Okay, I got. Hi, Sean. Welcome back. Welcome back again. I saw you raising your hand. Oh, Sean took it down. Anyone else? Okay, Ingrid. There we go. I got a new participant here. Hi, Ingrid. Good morning.
Hi.
Okay, Ingrid, hold on a second. Let me put down your name. So I have you, and that's going to be me, Francesco. And I'm going to put your name down beside me. And do I call you Ingrid, or is there something else I should call you?
Yeah, just Ingrid.
Just Ingrid. Okay, that's easy enough then. All right, here we go. So the first thing that we're going to do, Ingrid, is let's talk about something we need to buy, and let's make it an item of clothing. So for me, I'll go first to give you a little bit of an example. I'm going to go with, you know what, I'm actually really in the mood to wear something cozy. So I'm going to go with a dark green jacket, a forest green jacket. So I'm going to go with that. But maybe I shouldn't tell you the color. I feel like I sort of gave it away there. I'm just going to go with a jacket here. Okay, Ingrid, how about for you? What is one item of clothing you would need or would like?
I like to wear sweater.
Sweater. Okay, there we go. So what the students would need to do, they put down the name of themselves and something they would like to buy, clothes, and the color of the clothes and the size of the clothes. The reason I haven't written the full thing is because Ingrid is actually seeing my paper. In this real activity, Ingrid would only have access to her paper, while I have access only to mine, and we're exchanging information. Now, let's go through the questions. I'll go first. I'll be the boy with the green jacket first and the yellow shirt. And Ingrid, you'll be the man with the blue shirt first for the first round. So Ingrid, I need to buy a jacket. I'm feeling quite cold.
Okay, what color do you like?
I really like dark green. I think it's a very natural look. I like the color of the forest.
Okay. How about the size? What is your size?
I would say probably an XL. I don't like jackets that are in any way tight. I like jackets that are a little bit larger. Okay, Ingrid, I want to now ask you, what color, what item are you going to buy first? I haven't heard that. What
Sorry,
item?
I can't. Yeah.
Sorry.
My connection is unstable.
Okay, I can hear you clearly now.
Yeah.
For you, Ingrid, what item are you going to buy?
What item? I want to buy shoes, black shoes.
Okay, so the color, what color do you like? Only black for your shoes, right?
Yeah. Or black and pink. Black and pink.
Black and pink. Okay, good combination. And let me write that down first. And how about for your size? What is your size?
I think my size is 38.
38. Okay, perfect. I want to ask you one more question, Ingrid. Why do you want to buy? Sorry, wait. Why does yours say sweaters?
Sweater.
Sorry.
Shoes.
Shoes. My bad. I want to ask you a follow-up question, Ingrid. Why do you want to buy black and pink shoes?
Because
the weather is rainy for today, so I choose black. So it's not easy to dirty.
Good, good. All right. Well, thank you very much, Ingrid, for helping me to complete the task. I'll return now to a little bit of an explanation now to everyone here. So what is actually making this activity that I just showed you here any different from the activity before? I got a student and we exchanged a little bit of information. Something that was a little bit different here for this activity, which correlates to there is a rich variety of human resource, is that we got to hear more than just a price and yes and no. We got to see a variety of choices, opinions, and reasoning. This is why I asked the question, why? And this is also why human resources, having all that variety of students in our class, is so valuable. And it makes this activity different from the mingle activity, in where maybe the students are simply just doing an exchange of information using a simple structure. In tasks like this, we can get to hear a rich variety of differences of opinion and perspective, making use of the rich variety of human resources we have available to us. Okay, and let's now go to our third task for today. So this is now going to be called a jigsaw strategy. I'm going to give a little bit of information about the jigsaw strategy. Hold on for a second. So I'll start by reading just what we can see here on the screen. For a jigsaw strategy, we would divide the students into groups. We would assign each student a different chunk of information from a text. We would then get them to read it in their home group. Then we would ask the students to gather with other students from the other groups who have the same part of the text. We will call this an expert group. Here, students will share their opinions and discuss the same text topic until they really understand and become an expert, which is why it's called the expert group. Finally, they would return to their home group and share what they have discussed with their friends in the expert group. And this right here is an example of more students means more opportunities for cooperative, interdependent learning. So for this activity, I'm going to be using an example from Atlas's material. So instead of doing a live demonstration on this one, I'm going to give you just a little bit of an explanation instead. So this is an excellent example of using numbers to your advantage. So this activity is taken from the Atlas Zone material in our books, and it's called Discover Your Passion. This passage gives the question, what do you want to be when you grow up? So to start this off, we would give every student in our class a letter, A, B, or C, until every student in the class already has one of those letters. Then the students are going to be given a task to read the Stay Curious section if they are student A. If they are student B, they're going to be given the task to read Take a Personality Test. If they are a student with the letter C, they're going to be reading Get Out of Your Comfort Zone. Finally, we're going to be forming the teams into groups with 1A, 1B, and 1C. So they all have different information they need to read. However, they're not going to be reading it and discussing it in their groups. This is what is their home group. Now that they have their home group, we have 1A, 1B, 1C with different information. We're going to ask all the A's to gather together. So all the A's may gather together, like you can see in the circles on the left. All the B's would gather together, like the circles you can see in the middle. And all the C's would gather together, like the circles you can see on the right side. So this is now called the expert group. So in the expert group, the students are tasked with brainstorming the information with their new group before, after their brainstorm is finished, returning back again to their main group, where they will then share with their group, their original home group, what they learned from their discussion with the expert group. Now, this is a really good and excellent opportunity to use cooperative, interdependent learning, because they're going to be working together with their expert group to brainstorm, to discuss what are their thoughts, what are their opinions on this, to discuss together, to exchange information before returning to their home groups to then give the information to the home group. And this is just one of many ways that we could use jigsaw learning to give more opportunities for cooperative, interdependent learning to our students. All right, we're going to go to now a little bit of a open discussion, or it's not really question and answer section yet, but we're going to open the floor for anyone who would like to share their ideas or experiences on these topics. The topics are, there are always enough students for interaction, there's a rich variety of human resource, and more students means more opportunities for cooperative interdependent learning. So I can only share you my experience, my perspective, some ideas that I found that worked for me. But I know from within this group of 200 or something teachers and others, maybe some of you are not teachers, potential teachers, or from another field and hoping just to gain some information. We have a lot that we can learn from the collective. So I'm going to go through these one at a time. And if anyone has any information that they would like to share, any ideas on any of these, feel free. Let's start with the first one. I'll go through them one at a time. Let's start with number 1. There are always enough students for interaction. All right, I see Sean has raised his hand. Sean, do you have any idea you can share on this point?
All right, thanks, Mr. Francisco. So, yeah, I'm sorry, I got a broken camera. So,
No
yeah, I
problem.
cannot turn on the camera now. I'm sorry, but I hope my voice is clear.
Yeah.
So, yes, exactly. I believe that there is always students for interaction. Currently, I did a combination of cardinal note-taking activity with focus group discussion. And finally, they do a student-led discussion, student-led conference, SLC. I'm combining these 3 strategies just to add more information for the students in a way that they interact with one another. And the theme is crime scene investigation, or CSI. So I provided them with a moderated crime scene cases, and they work as field inspectors, try to investigate what's the case, what's the problem, how far it's been handled by the government, and they try to provide a solution, how to prevent this thing to happen. They provide a message for commoners, how to avoid this kind of crime happening again. And yeah, it worked well in a large number of students, divided them into groups. And from your idea, sir, it's really interesting to make them into expert groups. So instead of making a students-led conference when they present as a group, I think of dividing this each member to visit another group and share their findings. That would be awesome, I think.
And Sean, when you're teaching this class, this CSI, it sounds very interesting. Was that done offline or was that done online?
I did this offline where some students, yeah, all of them are in the classroom. I provided them with YouTube videos and some external reading link so they can gain some extra information just to add some spice in their explanation later.
That sounds like a lot of fun. I think I would enjoy I would enjoy being in that class, Sean.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Sure. Okay, anyone else, after we've heard from Sean about his crime scene investigation for enough students for interaction, is there anyone else who has anything to share, any idea that might match with this topic? There are always enough students for interaction. Mr. Fab?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Francesco. In my previous class and my previous school, I was teaching to 17 classes composed of 36 up to 39 students each. Wow. Can you imagine from grade 10 until grade 12 of high school? Yeah, that was really amazing. Yeah. But each of these, based on that, since I just had 45 minutes each, I provide videos so they can grab attention from information. So that's more like student-teacher practice, yeah. And then I suddenly jump to student interaction. It means that I give them some media that I provided. For example, there was in science class, like going to banks here, like he provided some, banknotes and some cash, something that clerks for banks they really use, and then so then I illustrate how to manage question and answer, yeah, and then also from the group said, so since the time was not enough, I asked them to work as a class group, and I divided first, and then later the next class next week, they had a good presentation, and so and then with my feedback, I share all the ideas of the group and my personal experience, because now I've opened my bank account in Indonesia, how to interact with banks. And then also there was a rich variety of vocabulary that they really learned from that. Yeah.
Good. That's a really nice idea, Mr. Fab, especially for larger classrooms. I think they can learn a lot from that. Fantastic. Okay, I'm gonna now go to the next one. So we've talked with Mr. Fab. We've heard from, sorry, who was it before Mr. Fab? Sorry, I forgot. We heard from one other, sorry, I forgot the name at the moment, on some excellent ideas that we can use in regards to always having enough students for interaction. Let's go to the next one. There's a rich variety of human resource. Does anyone have any ideas that kind of match with this point of bringing out our students' opinions and thoughts and their different perspectives? Let's go with Hanning here.
Sorry, sir. Before me, I think Mr. Shan is the first. Maybe I will be after this. Okay.
Oh,
Mr.
okay.
Shan first. Thank you.
Okay. Sorry, everyone, if I'm not able to see everyone's hands raised at the moment. I can see some, not all. Was it Dwi Chahyo or Ray? Sorry. Hi, Ray. Can you hear me? At the moment, I can't hear you, Ray. Still can't hear you yet, Ray. Oh, Sean. Sorry, Sean. That was the other person I had heard from with along with Fab on point one. Ray, I can't hear you at the moment.
Sorry, my bad.
Okay, I can hear you now. All right, that's great.
Okay, I didn't realize that. Okay, for this activity, I usually use it for opinion and advice activity. Recently, I had this activity when I gave them a picture of a man and a woman. They were attending a party, but the picture there were like a blank with the not naked person, but they have like a plain shirt and trousers. Yeah, and then I asked my student to form a group so they can discuss what kind of attire they should put on them. So in the end of the class, in the end of the discuss, they can like share their opinion about what dress they would advise to the couple to go to the party. Yeah, that's it.
Thanks, Ray. Yeah, very good. Making use of your students' resources that they have from themselves. So you don't actually have to do a lot of the work yourself, preparing the information. Your students can actually be the ones to generate that. And it's actually even better. You just give them the platform and they perform. Nice example, Ray. Do we have any other for there's a rich variety of human resources? All right, I think Hanning had raised his hand earlier.
Okay, thank you, sir. About there is a rich variety of human resources. I think just last week I experienced this related to this sentence that I conducted about debating maybe, and then I match students in low ability and high ability in one group so they can teach each other sounds like peer teaching. Thank you.
Very nice. Thank you, Hanning. That's actually something I had thought about when I was teaching and talking about this topic, that when we have our students, we have that variety of, like we talked about, opinions and ways of being, but we also have another resource that we can actually tap into, and that is actually peer teaching, or the ability to have our students help to lead the lesson, which is actually very effective. And I think many teachers have used it effectively within their classes. Thank you for bringing that out, Hanning. Let's go to our third point, which means more students, or which is more students means more opportunities for cooperative, interdependent learning. Does anyone have any ideas that they'd like to share? Anything that worked for them? Okay, Sean, welcome back.
All right, thanks, Mr. Francisco. So yeah, it is still related with my previous activity. I call it as FGD, focus group discussion. So there is one student that has a huge gap in terms of her proficiency skill. So instead of her shutting down in the group and without contributing one another, I assign her as the group leader, as the moderator, where some of her friends who are fluent enough to speak, she will lead them. She will divide the roles and so on. And I think from the way I did this, she can grasp the way her friends talk, and I hope it will enrich her mind on how to be interactive in the classroom. Instead of me forcing her to talk, I will just let her blend in with the friends in the discussion, especially when they are thinking on how to solve this crime scene, how to solve this crime case. And I like the way getting the data first from the students who have lower proficiency level with higher proficiency level and match them together. So I think it's like constructivist way to enhance the way they learn. And finally, before I close my statement, I give them like a small piece of rubric just to do peer assessment. I know it's imperfect, but it will help them to get a holistic feedback, not from the teacher, but also from the friends. So they can balance the way they learn and they can be active learners in the classroom.
Very nice. Thank you very much, Sean. I really like these different ideas that we're getting from everybody for enough students, for variety, and for cooperative interdependent learning. Let's see if there's one more we can hear from. For more students means more opportunities for cooperative interdependent learning. Okay, I think it is Fab, right? Hi, Fab. Welcome back.
Yes, yeah, thank you so much, Francesco. Yeah, so I just wanted to link myself to the past information that I gave you about the how to interact with the employer from a bank. Yeah, remember like 20 minutes ago. So since there is a chain between point 1, 2, 3, so after having interact this group of students to each other, then we discovered that there was a rich variety of vocabulary, human resources. It means vocabulary from before. Then I wanted to challenge the groups by mixing students into different groups, but no, same group but different students. Yeah, like for example, there were a group of five and five. So for example, 6 so it's eight groups of 5. Let's say 41. But then I swapped like three students for each group each, and then because in advance, I prepare questions and answer, eliciting if they really understood what the previous vocabulary was from the past video and my explanation, to see if they really got the point of dealing with bank employees and also dealing with each other. Yeah. So in this way, we challenge like, oh, okay, the group who answered the most question wins. Yeah. So for example, I give like a small present, like a bag of chocolates, something like that. It's a way to stimulate them. It's a way to compete. So the more they compete, the more they can learn.
Interesting. And you prepared the questions, Fab, or did you have the students also work to prepare the questions with you?
I prepare them first, but in the first meeting we practice each other, yeah, before giving homework as a group, and then bring the next week, the following week, yeah.
Okay, thanks very much, Fab.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. And one more thing to close on for share your ideas, everyone. Remember that, especially for point number 3, as I mentioned before, cooperative interdependent learning is a fantastic way for you to prepare your students for real life when they will have to learn to cooperate and learn and grow and work together with others. So let's now end this with, hold on a second, with a Q&A. Siti, are you here?
Yes, I'm here, sir. All
right,
right,
thank you, Queen Siti.
Okay, all right. Now we'll move to the question and answer session. If there are any question, please text it on the chat box. Bapak Ibu, or maybe you can raise your hand. You can talk directly to Mr. Francisco. Okay, it's Mr. Sean again. Please, sir. Okay, Mr. Sean, maybe Kak Admin boleh dibantu untuk Mr. Sean-nya untuk meng-unmute mic-nya.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you. All right, thank you. So for this opportunity, I would like to ask, back again, bully has been a generational problem in the school. In particular, in productive classes like speaking, this thing cannot be avoided. Maybe the students not doing that in my class, but in other classes, in other group tasks, they did bullying to one another. So it becomes another problem for me if I try to mix the group, and there will be cry from the students. Ah, sir, I don't agree with him or her because he did that, she did that to me on previous classes. So I would like to hear from experience, Mr. Francisco. How did you deal with conflicts among the students in a way that somehow hinders their progress in learning English, in a way that they will feel threatened if they contribute. They are afraid if they will be bullied more, if they say something might be wrong or sound silly in the classroom. How to build this constructive culture in the classroom that supports one another. Thank you, sir. I really appreciate that.
Sure. Thank you for the question, Sean. Now, sorry. To answer this question, there's many ways, and it's actually a little bit challenging ultimately because a lot would depend on the restrictions and the guidelines of each individual school. That's the first thing that I'll address. But something I will say that has helped me, and this hasn't been a case of where there's multiple bullies in a class, but this worked with me many times in a situation where there was a single bully. I found that oftentimes the bullies tend to be the ones with a lot of energy to have, to share, and they might be a little bit more active than the others. And I've used the technique that I think one of the teachers mentioned earlier, where you use the student as your resource. And I found that in my classes where I had a student who was a bully, if I made them work directly under me as a co-teacher of sort, the sense of responsibility would often bring them to fix their own behavior because they're like, oh, I'm in a role that is important and I'm directly under teacher, which means he's also directly monitoring and observing me. Now, the problem with this is it does restrict what activities they can join because they kind of become your moderator on what is right and wrong. And I think depending on the personality of the individual, this could go really well and it may not work at all. But I found that the cases where I had to deal with a bully, where I told him, okay, you know what? Let's say his name is Bill. All right, Bill, you're going to be working under me now as a co-teacher. And for today's activity, for this activity, at the time when they're acting up, usually a bully won't be acting up the whole class. If it is, that's a very exceptional case. But for the time when he's acting up, I would right away put him under my direct supervision to help me monitor, to help me see if anyone's doing it right or wrong. So he's not just picking on any one person, he's picking on the group to see if there's any mistakes that he will then report back to me, where I will then give my constructive criticism instead of the criticism from the bully. That's one thing that has worked for me. And if it works for you, fantastic. But I would say a lot would depend on the personality of each individual student. Something that worked with me to a lesser degree, but for younger learners, I made something like a Hall of Fame. So I used to put it on my board on the corner. Every single class, I would walk in the room and I would have a Hall of Fame for just that particular class. And the way to get into the Hall of Fame is to do certain acts that are considered good, productive, beneficial to the class, will get you 1 point. And if your bully is in any way competitive, that can sometimes, especially like Mr. Fab says, sometimes he gives small rewards. Having those small rewards and then something like a Hall of Fame could trigger the bully's competitive nature to want to either win, so he can have his name on the Hall of Fame, or to receive the prize, in the case of Mr. Fab. And from those two methods, I've managed to avoid having any very severe cases of bullying. But of course, in any situation where the bullying becomes too extreme, I feel you should be talking to the principal to get their information and their cooperation, probably also with the parents as well on this. All right, that's it for me.
Okay, thanks, sir, for the answer, and thanks for the question, Mr. Sean. And then we have Mr. Cristo here. Hi, sir, Cristo.
Oh wait, I think
Could you unmute yourself? Okay.
Hi, Cristo.
Okay, hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Hi, first of all, thank you very much for having a nice presentation for us, letting us know how to teach in a lab classroom. Maybe before asking question, I'd like to share a bit about my context. I teach in a national place school. This is a private school where we have students from various abilities. Some of them are very smart in English. They're very capable to speak. Meanwhile, some others are very passive. I think this will also share some question like what a teacher here in the chat box. So right into my question. Would you please share about your experience teaching students with this kind of diverse abilities, where some students are very good in English, meanwhile some others are pretty, let's say, not confident, but and some other cases they know what they're going to share, but it is just that they don't have the words to say it, which it of course ruins their learning motivation. If you have some experience, I think that would be great. And how did you deal with that? Thank you so much, Mr. Francisco.
Okay, thank you for the question, Cristo. So to answer that, I actually have several different approaches. And a lot of this depends on the students, because at the end of the day, if I was to directly address and assess your class and see what kind of personalities you're dealing with, my answer could change depending on that. But one possible approach is to mix the class, mix the smarter kids with the I should say with like smarter, the more advanced students. In English with the ones who are probably struggling a little bit more. Now, this works only if the student who you are mixing together have a relationship where, let's say, the one who's more advanced in English isn't just hogging the spotlight, so to speak, and answering all the questions on their own, and actually working together with their weaker partner. And this is where having a positive and, I guess, a good class environment really helps. A class environment where the students are encouraged to help each other, to work together if they see someone who's struggling, to pick them up and give them the help they need. And if you can have that positive class environment, I find that having students work together from different ability levels won't be much of a problem. In terms of inspiring them, I feel there's some things that are out of our control. I've seen students where they have problems at home, where no matter what I do, no matter what I try, it's going to always be difficult because they're having problems and issues outside of the classroom in their home life. But I also feel that us as teachers, we try our best to make the classes engaging. And I know this is asking a lot because we have very busy lifestyles, but try our best to make the classes engaging. Do what we can to give them as much of a interest to join. We've done our part. And anything aside from that, we can hope for the best and we can encourage them. But as long as you know you've done your best, I think you can have a clear conscience knowing that you've tried. But for the only practical advice, aside from making your classes more interesting, which is easy to say, of course, and I would say getting them to team up with those students who are a little bit more advanced, to work with them and help them if that student isn't going to just dominate the spotlight and not allow them to actually have any chance to shine.
Okay, thanks for the answer, Mr. Francisco, and thanks for the question, Mr. Cristo. Unfortunately, we don't have enough time for the unanswered question. Okay, and thank you for the excellent presentation of materials, Mr. Francisco. All participants may give applause in the chat column for Mr. Francisco. You can use the emoticon like this.
Thank you very much, everyone. I hope all the things that we've covered today could really help you in some way to enrich your classes and make it a better experience for you, the teacher, as well, not only the students.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Francisco. And then we're going to the photo session. Ya, sebelum itu, before that, you can. Oke, sebelum itu Bapak Ibu bisa mengisi link presensi yang sudah admin kirimkan di dalam chat box ya Bapak dan Ibu. Oke. Okay, we're going to the photo session and we have like how much slides we have here. Wait. There's a lot of slide. So okay, Bapak Ibu, please open your camera. We're going to the photo session and please give your best smile. We have like 9 slides here, so you have to put your smile like okay, I'm going to count. 1, okay. 1, 2, 3. Next slide. 1, 2, 3. Next slide. 1, 2, 3. Okay, the fourth slide. 1, 2, 3. The fifth slide. 1, 2, 3. The sixth slide. 1, 2, 3. The seventh slide. 1, 2, 3. The eighth slide. 1, 2, 3. And the last slide, 1, 2, 3. Because we don't know Bapak Ibu akan ada di slide yang mana ya, makanya you have to put your smile at every count that I said. Okay. Nah, sekali lagi saya ingin merimain kepada Bapak Ibu sekalian, mungkin penasaran, dan saya yakin pasti penasaran about Atlas Book dan juga LMS-nya. Bapak Ibu bisa menghubungi tim Kido yang nomornya Okay. Okay, I'm so sorry from a bad connection. Baik, tim admin boleh dikirimkan kembali kontak dari tim Kido dan juga link presensi. Ya, untuk Bapak Ibu bisa di-save dulu link presensi dan juga kontak-kontak yang telah dibagikan oleh tim Atlas. Oke, terima kasih sekali untuk Bapak Ibu yang sudah hadir di workshop hari ini. Thank you to all the teachers who attended today's workshop. Thank you also to our speakers, Mr. Tommy and Mr. Francisco. I personally ask the moderator apologize if there are any mistakes in both words and behavior. Selamat siang semuanya, good day, stay safe and healthy. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Goodbye, everyone.
Hai Atlazen, nama saya Tommy Yonatan Kumala, saya selaku co-founder dan CEO dari Atlas. Saya dulu pernah menempuh pendidikan, sarjana pendidikan di salah satu universitas di Jakarta. Kemudian saya terbang ke New York untuk studi di Columbia University, mengambil TESOL sebagai major dan Education Leadership sebagai minor. Saya lihat di sini, apalagi dengan adanya pandemi, pembelajaran menjadi jarak jauh dan